Welcome everyone to the August 13th board meeting. We are recording the meeting. It will be posted online later. We have Spanish translation available that I'm starting right now. So you should see at the bottom of your screen an interpretation capability. We ask that everyone please keep their microphones and cameras muted. Currently the board members and the FOC members have their videos and microphones up because the FOC will be presenting right away. And I believe, if you would like to make a public comment, at the top of tonight's agenda is a link to submit your public comment. And so you can do that, and that's it.
Great. So on that note, we will open our board meeting at 5:32 p.m. We have 6 board members present. We are missing board member Metcher, who is dealing with a family issue at the moment. So we hopefully he will join us as soon as he is able. So on that note, we will invite everybody to rise for our Pledge of Allegiance and to say it with me together. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, which brings us to the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any corrections to the agenda as submitted? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion made by Craig, seconded by Maria. Quick roll call vote to approve the agenda. Lori?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Richard? Richard, are you with us, or did you fall off?
No, I'm here. I got a thumbs up. I'm on the top row.
I couldn't see you. Oscar?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So our agenda is approved. I have one item to report out from closed session. DN 1006 2021 final settlement agreement. Kindly note that the summary of the settlement is as follows. The district agrees to reimburse parents in the amount not to exceed $32,000 for students' educational services. Motion was made by board member DeVilder and Jeswin, seconded by board member Lieberman. There were 5 yes votes, 0 no votes. Board members Metcher and De La Torre were not in closed session at that time. So that is the end of reporting out from closed session. We have one set of minutes to approve from July 16th. Is there a motion to approve minutes as submitted? Oh, Maria, I was going to say you did your hair, but then you raised your hand after, so you doubled up. And seconded by Craig. We'll do a roll call to approve minutes. Richard? That's a thumbs up. Lori?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Oscar?
Yes.
You see a thumbs up. Richard? I see a thumbs up from Richard and Maria.
Yes.
Wonderful, and I'm a yes as well. So the minutes are approved as submitted. And that brings us to our timestamp item, study session 5, item 1, joint session with the Financial Oversight Committee. So on this note, I'm happy to give it over to our FOC chair, Seth Jacobson.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can everybody see the screen?
Yeah.
Is that a yes? Okay, thanks, Ben. Thank you, board members. As always, we're excited to share with you our work for the last year. In particular, it's been a tumultuous year for the FOC, primarily because we've had a huge turnover in membership, but we've still been able to achieve a lot of things, and happy to report out tonight. Overall, I think I think many of you are familiar with some of these names. If not, I know you voted on 2 newest members last time around that are not represented on this slide. However, they will be on the coming month joining the new FOC. Some are with us tonight, I believe, via phone. First off, I'd like to just review our charges for 2019, 2020. The first is our budget recommendations. The second was tax revenue and assessed value evaluation. Third was Prop Y, YY, GSH. Then we did financial benefits of sustainability, and then special education, and then bond oversight. We'll have report outs by each of these organizational committees tonight, beginning with the budget subcommittee. I'll take this one because Payal will take the special education one, Matt. I'd just like to say that we didn't have a lot of activity in this subcommittee. We are, however, and I will reiterate this again later in the closing, we are ready. We're a bunch of really smart folks ready to help on this critical time for the board and for the district. And Payal and myself are on the superintendent's budget committee, and we're looking to be as helpful as possible. But as a full committee, I might say that we are really, really interested in helping. And I've had discussions, as you know, with many of you board members about this. So we didn't have a lot of activity in this particular subcommittee, but we are expecting that in the coming months we will. Most of our activity revolved around attending the superintendent's budget advisory subcommittee meetings and reviewing the existing budgets and existing issues. Any questions on this? Otherwise, I'm going to move on. Okay. So the budget subcommittee recommendations, as I said, we would like to participate more in the SBAC. We've, been in meetings, and we offered to our board liaisons that we're going to continue to review financial data and other proposals. So next up, tax revenue and assessed valuation. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague. I believe.
Okay. Hi. Good,
Michael.
Hi, thanks. So Mike Kramer, good evening, board members. So our subcommittee prepared about a 13-page report to the board. We have one page here of summaries. The focus here was on redevelopment funds and how they are received by the district in regular fashion. So there's what they call enforceable obligations that are, it's basically the debts of the redevelopment agency, the successor agency that are still being paid off. Two large bond issues are outstanding, roughly 75 million, the 2006, 2011 tax allocation bonds. They can be refunded, meaning being refinanced for significant savings. We've identified this as important. There's also 38 million of additional enforceable obligations that have a high rate of 6.8%. That's through 2042. Those appear to be obligations between the city and the successor agency. We don't know if those can be prepaid or not, but the rate on those is quite high. All of these are eligible for tax exempt refunding. There is a process you have to go through involving the Department of Finance, but it's certainly workable. It's done all the time. I work on these with my clients. So I think we encourage the board and staff to discuss this with the city, because any reduction in these payments will flow through to the district. So basically, for every, sorry, one second. So, every reduction annually in these payments on these obligations, say it's $1 million, the district share of that is roughly 16%. So if we can reduce that by $1 million a year on those payments, the district will benefit by $160,000 per year. So we think that this set of obligations has a lot of potential for refinancing. We also recommend that the district retain an experienced redevelopment consulting firm to prepare the long-term cash flows that are coming out of the trust fund. It's a fairly complicated project, and it's not something that we would ever expect staff to take on, but I think there's consultants that can do the work at reasonable fees. And this would really help assist staff with the long-term budgeting of redevelopment funds, property tax, et cetera, to use in the MYP. So I think that's something we also recommend as well. And we'd like to continue this subcommittee into next year to assist with execution of these recommendations. Seth, back to you.
Okay.
Hey,
Any
Seth?
questions?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Seth,
any questions?
would you like us to address things piecemeal as they come, or do you want us to wait until the end of the report? What would you prefer?
I think we should deal with them directly after each one. That way we'll
Okay.
quickly go through it.
So in
Is there
that
any
case,
questions?
I do have something for this. I'm glad Mike brought this up from this report. We do have an obligation to try to get these notes refinanced. I know that this is something that we have to do in concert with the city as well. Is that correct, Mike?
The city staff, which is the staff of the success rate, so they usually take the lead on these refundings. You know, if for any reason, not that I expect this, if they're unwilling to do that, you can petition the oversight board at the county to act upon these.
Okay, I believe, I know Sean Landris let me know that Greg Morena, I think at his last council meeting, gave direction to the city to take this action on. So Melody, I guess my question is for you, is this something that you need formal board direction on? How would you like to proceed with this? It seems if we can be refinancing to bring revenue in, this is something we should be doing immediately.
I think right now you're giving, well, at least one board member has given me direction, so I just need that direction. I don't think we need a formal.
Okay, so tell you what, I can't see the screen right now, but at the end of the presentation, board members, when we're done comments, I'll bring up this topic and see if there's 4 board members that would like us to go ahead with this. And then the other issue that Mike brings up is that idea of a committee. I wonder if Mike, we could, maybe at the next FOC meeting, we could talk about this, agendize it and talk about it. And then the liaisons can go back to the board with it. Unless you feel that we don't need more information on it right now.
No, it sounds great.
We're happy to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Mike.
Quick question.
Yep.
In terms of when we refinance, we extend the life of the loan as well. Is that?
No, not necessarily. In fact, you really don't want to do that. You want to keep the same term and just lower your interest rate.
Oh, great. Okay, good. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Which is what you did on the last refinance, right? So the term was not extended, but the cost of borrowing went down. That was the great win for the district on the last round of bond refinancing. So we would aim for that. Mike, isn't it true also that can be arranged so that the savings are front loaded? So if we're anticipating, you know, we want to try to maximize savings to the district in the early years and push out the, you know, so that we actually can net more savings up front.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, in fact, with these obligations, you can't extend the term of debt. It's not allowed under the redevelopment law, the successor agency law, but the law requires that you show savings on the refunding. So it doesn't matter if it's the same savings per year, or you can front load it like Sean mentioned, and which has been done quite a bit. So you can push that savings into the next, say, 5 years, and then every year thereafter, it's the same payment you had before. So that's a great benefit. It'll really take advantage of that 16%, and you could make it, you know, it could go from 100 and some thousand per year to maybe a couple 100,000 per year for the district for the next 3 to 5 years.
Great. Thanks so much, Mike. I do want to also just add my thank you to the FOC for their work on this topic. Over, I think it's the past 14 months, we've saved the taxpayers of Santa Monica about $22 million through strategic refis of our bond obligation. So thank you for the work you guys have done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Matthew Crawford, you're on. Prop YY
Yes.
GSH.
For the YY and GSH subcommittee, we were asked to examine YY and GSH to learn how to kind of the district can project them a little bit better. This obviously involved discussing with the city's finance staff, since this revenue is actually city revenue that they send along half of it to the district. That is not a 100% guarantee requirement, but the city, in our conversations with them, has not, at least has not told us that they're considering changing that. So we're kind of assuming for projection purposes that it'll continue in the current form. generally, sales tax revenues over the last few years that have generated the YY and GSH have been relatively easy to project through the years. And then this year, obviously, that all went out the window. All the trend analysis this spring became completely useless. So so we communicated with the city's finance office, and kind of the goal just became making sure that the district and the city were using the same numbers, given the high amount of uncertainty and where things would actually land. So what you see on the sheet and in the report is the numbers that we used for 2020, and the numbers that the city provided to us for what they were assuming they would pay the district in 2021 for YY and GSH. We can certainly continue to have these discussions with them to ensure continuity and consistency between the city and the district. But I think since the connection's been made, I think probably staff can handle that just as well as we can, just to make sure we're consistent. We are happy to continue keeping a close eye on YY and GSH if that's the desire, but staff can probably make the phone calls to the city just as well as we can.
I think our recommendation, Matt, if I'm correct, is to continue to monitor the situation, and
Yes.
given our relationships with the city as well.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on it.
That adjustment you made, I mean, how confident are we with that 12.5 million?
For 2021, I would say not confident. Given that these projections are already 3 months old. Obviously, all of us know that a lot has changed, and very little has become clear in that time. So I think I would express confidence that the district and the city are on the same page with what we're projecting, but I would not express confidence that that number will somehow be the number at the end of the year.
Okay.
But,
Sure.
but you're not suggesting that there's any other way of
No.
trying to get
Unless
I wish
we
there
had
were.
magic
I mean,
ball.
sort of this is the best we can do is what you're saying.
For this job and my day job, it would be wonderful if we knew how sales tax would come in during the year. But there are so many variables that impact it that it's really impossible to say right now. There's not really a better way to do it.
Sean may know better, but my understanding is the city's in the process of doing a reprojection based on current openings of businesses. So we may have some newer data.
I haven't heard anything. I see the same commercial vacancies that everyone else does. So I don't see anything to suggest that the revenue projections should be anything other than what the subcommittee said. I mean, sadly, I think that's going to be optimistic.
Could very
Okay.
well be.
Any other questions on that matter? Okay. Thank you very much, Matt. So the Sustainability Subcommittee, thank you, Board, for allowing us to continue this year. We did have a very active year up until March, where the subcommittee was meeting with members of Carrie's staff and the new sustainability task force. We provided insights on district-wide energy management. We participated in the energy management contract, which the board's familiar with. And we were hopeful that we would be able to find savings that we could share with you but that's still in the process of being developed through the task force, and hopefully will be reported out. But obviously with the cost cutting that's going to be required in the district and so on, we're unclear as to where this all goes. So at this point, board members, we're not sure whether or not the subcommittee should continue maybe as a advisory role or a membership role only to continue to monitor the situation. But we have provided as much as we can, and working with Melody and her team to find additional cost savings, and Carrie as well. Any questions on this? Okay. Payal, I believe you are joining us.
Hi there. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. So I'll report on the Special Education Subcommittee findings. This was a continuation of the charge from the prior year. We had two big developments in special education. We had a change in our special education department leadership, as well as a decent amount of turnover in the recent months on a lot of the staff. And we also had FICMAT report findings in the prior year, in the spring of prior year. So the subcommittee worked on a few different things. We worked with the department to review, what the progress against Is there a feedback?
Yeah, I think it just went away, Pyle.
Okay. So the first thing is we worked with the department to understand and review progress against FICMAT findings. And there's a detailed report, I think page 19 to 22 in our FOC committee report that talks about, what we have learned of progress against each and every recommendation that FICMAT suggested. This also lined up with the prior recommendations FOC had made. So the detailed findings are in the report. I just want to share that the leadership has worked really, really hard this year to make significant changes across all fronts. So I will just want to leave that as a high level point of observation. We also worked to understand our legal settlements data a little bit more. And the committee was able to get data through December. So we looked at the legal settlements data through December of 2019. And we were able to make high-level recommendations on what the department should dig into in terms of further tracking and analysis. Since COVID happened, we have yet to get the latest data, but that is work in progress, and we will work with the department to look at our long-term liabilities and legal settlements through June of 2020. At a high level, this is what we recommend. We recommend that the special ed department continue to collaborate with FOC. We're not recommending a specific charge. We're requesting a mid-year update to FOC on the department's fiscal health, given that, there's been a lot of program and system process changes, and now they're going to be tracking the impact of those. We also know due to COVID, there's probably going to be a significant impact, still uncertain what the magnitude of it is, but significant impact to potential liability that's coming in our direction. So we'd love to touch back with the department mid-year to understand what they've learned from these changes, as well as latest legal settlements that are coming into the funnel. And then the overall, the contribution of the general fund to special ed is also up for the coming year. It's a little bit over $1 million more. So just want to bring that to your attention as the board. Overall, recommendation, continue to track metrics on our legal settlements by relevant anonymized parameters, including what is happening at each site level, at grade category level, by certain disability types. And these details have been shared with the department as well, as they are in the detailed report. We want to understand the fiscal impact of our new changes to our paraeducator assignments and the new trainings, and also understand overall family and staff sentiment based on the new and updated programs. So we're moving in the right directions. We're making a lot of great changes, but we want to bring to the attention of the department to continue to track changes, impact of these changes for our students and families. Further, based on legal settlements to date through December 2019, we wanted the department to look into, what are they learning from the disability areas of autism, other health impairment or OHI, or DNQ or did not qualify cases. Those were the largest, almost 2/3 of our cases relate to these 3 disability areas, categories. So we wanted them to do a further analysis on that. Also, we learned that the settlements at the elementary and high school level account for almost all of our legal settlements through December 2019. So we wanted them to also start looking at the metrics with those lens, right? We're clearly doing something right at middle school level. That's all we have. We're not recommending a specific charge. However, if the board believes that we are going to get hit by significantly high legal settlements, given distance learning and impact of COVID, FOC is happy to jump in and work on a special charge to find further efficiencies.
Pyle, Seth, if it's okay, I've got just a couple questions for Pyle.
Absolutely. Go for it.
So Pyle, thank you for that for in-depth information. I'm not sure if you guys broke it down this way, but I'll ask it. Do you have any sense where that increase in the general fund encroachment is coming from? Which aspects went up to make up that $1 million? And is that increase a smaller percentage increase than the increase we had last year? So are we at least trending in the right direction?
So my understanding from looking at the data is there have been some salary increases. So, just staff increases, as well as we're seeing more contracts to NPS and NPA, that those are the non-public agencies and non-public schools. So we've seen a lot more students that have qualified, and we have to send them to NPS, NPAs, and so that's dollars that gets taken away. So those are the contributing factors, John, per my understanding. I can circle back and see what the trend has looked like historically in terms of our contribution changes. But I know it's been on an uptick over.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I know that Deanna's doing wonderful work. And like you're saying, we're seeing successes in middle school. And even though there's an encroachment, maybe it's a smaller encroachment as a percentage basis of what we're used to seeing. And then your last thing was the legal settlements as a potential charge. I'd like to let Deanna drive that conversation a little bit more. If she feels this is something she needs, we can discuss this also at the next FOC meeting. With the board.
I think the only thing is just not to lose our finger on the pulse of what's happening related to COVID. We just want to make sure we ask them to maybe present at some point in the FOC. To your point, John, Deanna has found, based on the fiscal stabilization plan, she has found over $1 million in cost savings. So based on, she's already found a decent amount of cost savings. So just want to bring that to everyone's attention, right? So she did find over $1 million in savings. However, because of the NPS, NPA, and other factors, we're continuing to see it.
Can I add? This is Deanna, actually. I'll add to the MPA cost was because we weren't able to staff ourselves completely with para educators. So really the cost came from having to contract those out. Getting para educators to go to Malibu sites was really difficult. And some of them came through settlements that were done prior to our administration. So we had to carry those out. We are trying to reduce those, but it is difficult. We are seeing some uptick because of the COVID virus and people needing different things, but we're also bringing students back into the district and developing programs and relationships, which we hope will, an open door policy where people can talk to us instead of going straight to legal matters.
Yes, thank you, Deanna. Agreed.
Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, I'd like to go on to the Bond Oversight Subcommittee. I believe Gordon's not with us, so Matt, I think you, or Michael? I'm not sure who. Is it Michael? I think, are you presenting for Gordon?
I guess so.
Okay.
Do we have a page on this?
Yep.
Sorry. So I think our largest project going into next year is to take a look at the debt policy. And we've mentioned this in meetings before. It probably hasn't been touched since it was first adopted a few years ago, and just see if we can find ways to modernize and improvement. So we're going to be working on that at the committee level. We continue to assist staff and review, refinancing opportunities to the district and weigh in on those when they're being considered, and also just assist with any new money bond issues that come through, like we've had in the past couple of years.
Okay. So, board members, just to recap, we believe that the district budget committee is of critical importance given the shifting sands that we're all talking about. The bond oversight committee, definitely. We are, as per the recommendations, we wanted to revamp the revenue and assess valuation and Prop YY and GSH projections to one subcommittee that will monitor things as they go along. If you agree, we think that that's the appropriate way to move forward since there's such overlap. And we think that there'll be an opportunity to report on a regular basis. Plus, we're working closely with Melody and her staff, and obviously with the city staff when we get information. So that was the recommendation. And as I mentioned in my report on sustainability, we'll continue to monitor things. I'm still a member of the Sustainability Task Force, so I can provide information to the FOC as necessary, and then we can present it to you, but there's probably no necessary charge specific to sustainability at this time. We may come back to you at a later date, provided, depending on what happens with the budget and budget efforts. So I think with that covers everything. John, over to you in terms of discussion.
Thanks so much. If you could give me the screen back so I can see people.
I will.
That'd be wonderful.
Yours.
There we go. So the first thing I want to do is just ask any board members if they have any clarifying comments or anything they want to bring to light right now. If not, I've got a couple things that I want to go through. Craig,
Sure.
yeah, hop in.
Yeah, you guys had mentioned the bond policy, the refi policy. Is there anything the board can do, or are we just waiting for you guys to work through that?
Michael, you want to jump in? I'll do it.
Sure. No, I don't think so at this time. We're going to move on it. We have some staff changes at the FOC, and that's caused a little bit of a delay, but we'll be moving forward on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important for the folks at home. That is that we have a specific way we deal with refinancing the bonds to capture those opportunities like we talked about tonight, rather than having to create that decision-making every time the opportunity comes up. So I'd love to see that put into policy whenever you guys can bring it back.
Our recommendation, Craig, just so you know, was to get something on the agenda for the next meeting, and the subcommittee is going to bring something to the board. Thank you.
On that same topic, I do want to go back to the refi as we get to the redevelopment agency notes. I would like Melody to get started on this ASAP, but I don't want to give direction just myself. So are there other board members who would like Melody to look into the opportunity to refi these bonds? And maybe also, I would say also find out about the possibility of front loading savings or stretching them out. So I see Craig is in favor of that.
Yeah, I think everybody in
Okay, so
favor.
Melody, you have direction from the board now to post haste, get this done. Anytime we can bring revenue into our district, we're looking at it. And then the other thing I want to
Mr. Keene, clarity for the minutes. Could you restate the direction, please?
Okay, the direction is for the CBO to work with representatives of city staff and subcommittee from the FOC to explore the refinancing of the tax-exempt refinancing with the Department of Finance to generate savings, and however we want to put it, to look into generating savings through securing lower borrowing rates, interest rates. And if you can put that into English, I would appreciate it. But Melody knows. Melody knows, and I trust the subcommittee of the FOC to stay involved on this one as well.
I gotcha.
Thank you. And then the last thing I would bring up is, we bring up the charges. I could be wrong with this. I think our normal would be to allow the liaisons to the FOC to talk this through with the members at the next meeting, and then identify what those charges would be going forward. So maybe Craig, Lori, and I, who are the current liaisons, can meet before that and then give better direction at the next FOC meeting.
Happy to. Appreciate the direction.
So that said, is there anything else that this was really just wonderful work, everyone on the FOC. I really thought this was a terrific report, and it just shows the level of expertise that we get from our community on this. Anybody else have any comments or closing statements, Seth? Whatever you want to do.
I just want to mention that we lost Debbie Mulvaney and Shelley Nahas, two really long-serving, excellent members, and I just want to bring that to the attention of the board. We will miss them, and that also that Gordon Lee has announced that he's going to be leaving the board. So we are going to have a whole new group of folks. So just bringing that to the board's attention, that we're losing a lot of institutional memory, but hope to work with the board liaisons in terms of finding the upcoming charges, and we're excited to help as much as we can, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the comment period. Thank you.
Thanks, Seth. So Sarah, I guess if the minutes could reflect, sorry, Lori, I was going to say, if the minutes could reflect the appreciation of the board for the longstanding service of Debbie Mulvaney and Shelley Nahas on the FOC, and we thank them for the expertise and the many hours of work they've given us. Is Gordon officially leaving, or is he leaving soon?
He's officially leaving as of the next meeting.
Well, then we need to, I guess, include Gordon Lee in that, and thank Gordon as well for his years of service on the FOC. Lori, I think you might want to just say the same thing, but go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say the same thing, so I'll echo what John said, but I also want to say that to Seth's earlier comment about how this has been a year with a lot of changing and new people beginning their terms on the FOC, I'm super impressed and appreciative of the hard work, serious work, and the knowledge that is being brought to bear by all of you. And this was it was a good report. It's been a great year. I hope I'll continue to be a liaison, but I'm really appreciative of what you all have brought. And it really is interesting because so many people have changed, and people's expertise then comes in slightly different packages and in slightly different areas. So it's really been a great year, and I feel like we're going to continue to thrive given all that you're able to help us with. So much appreciation.
Agreed. So on that note, I guess that's the end of that report. So thank you all so much for that work, and we'll see you all at the
next meeting.
Yeah, which brings us to E, communications. I do not believe we have any student board members present, but I will wait 1 second just to see if any of them self-identify. Not hearing any, I will go to our union report first from Sarah Braff, SMMCTA. So Sarah Braff, floor is yours.
Mute, okay. Students, I hope there's a few of you here tonight. You always come first and foremost. Please know how much you matter to us and how much we care about each of you. This year will be a challenge, but we believe in your ability to adapt, and we will meet you where you are. While this year will look different from any other school year, we have confidence that you will be great. Parents, we need you to encourage your kids and your teachers. We know our students are eager to return to school, even if it won't look the same as before. This is a real opportunity for thinking and exploring new ways for our children to learn, to be engaged and encouraged. It's a real chance to look at the social justice movement and a chance to change our system for all of our students to succeed equitably. But we can't do it without your support, not only of your student, but of our teachers and their instruction if we are to be successful. Teachers and staff, to be effective, we will need to establish a strong foundation of learning routines, procedures, and expectations by including parents every step of the way. Every new year, presents challenges, and as in the past, we must face them with confidence, a positive attitude, and enthusiasm. From our district, we need improved communication in all directions to continue to build trust. We understand how difficult this year will be, but we need your help, real help. We need inventiveness to find more time and more ways for teachers to be able to plan together to make this year a triumph for our students, their parents, and our teachers. We need you to trust that we teachers are sharing the best practices of distance learning and student communication with each other, and please give us the opportunity to continue to build that work together. From the community, we know it will not always go easy or smoothly, and will require all of us as a community to work together. It means waiting and thinking before speaking, and putting ourselves in another person's position. We must be flexible in a way many of us have resisted, and we must lean into this new normal and not away. And when I say we, I mean all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate those words. Which brings us to our next union report, which will be Chris Mock with SEIU.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Drotti, our staff and executive cabinet and community. So I just want to, there's a lot to kind of unpack here. So I'm a little bit scrambled, as you can imagine, but I do want to bring up some points what we're working on and what we're addressing. Of course, in the distance learning format, we are in conversations. We're meeting with our special ed labor management team, and we're discussing the role of paraeducators coming back into school, and what they will be doing with and the support of our students and our teachers in the distance learning format in virtual classrooms. We're also, I've suggested, we've also requested meetings with the district to come to the table to talk about plans for our other classified staff, the school year staff. And we hope that those meetings are going to happen soon because we have not met yet. And we need to flesh some things out. So those demands have gone out to Mark and the district, and we're hoping that those will happen soon because we know that we start school next week. So on a positive note, there has been 2 days added to the end of the school year in order to accommodate the teachers up front for professional development. I'm happy to say that this provides us three days of some training for our school year staff, and there's lots of training and opportunities there to really get them familiar with not only providing them technology, but also providing them the skills and the skill sets that they will need to learn to be successful in this format. So we're looking forward to fleshing those details out with our labor management team, our labor management teams, and with the district moving forward. Also, I wanted to discuss the CDS layoffs, which of course is our main concern right now because of the unprecedented sort of move to shut down all of these programs. And I know that we've had this conversation before, and I understand the board's position on this and the reasoning for it. But as the layoff notices have gone out, I've had an opportunity to really connect with many of these members who are being affected in this way. And I've had conversations with many of our child center assistants. And what I'm learning from these people is that many of these staff are 20 or year long, devoted, sort of loyal employees who have been with this district for their whole careers. They are staples in the society. They provide these essential services, and they are beside themselves in this move. And I wanted to just try and put a human face to this to this layoff. And it may look good to your bottom line, and I understand the fiscal element of it, but the human element to this is unconscionable what we're asking to walk out the door here. The years of service, and I'm going to take his term, the institutional memory that is walking out of the experience, the devotion, the loyalty to this district, and the years of service is priceless, and something we will never get back if these employees are not hired back or these layoffs rescinded. And I think tonight we're going to have some stories to share with you in the public comments that will kind of shed light on that. So I really would urge you to listen, to think about these things as we move forward, and we will hold you to opening these programs back up. And I know that a lot of this is based on, the LA Department of Health and their regulations and their protocols for opening up schools and for opening up child supervision services. But there actually was something that came out recently, and we know that things are changing day by day in this world that we're living in with the COVID. But we need to really be adamant and on top of this and really bring these things back. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chris. And now it brings us to our PTA Council report with Gabrielle Cohen. Gabrielle, I have pandemic brain. Is this your first PTA president?
It's my second.
That's what I thought. It's your second one. So welcome to your second report.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thanks for inviting me tonight. Just wanted to let everybody know the PTAs are all up and running. We've started to meet with our presidents. Everybody is looking forward to what will be a very unusual but hopefully great year. Everybody's getting going with communications. We really want to encourage everybody, including our board members and our administration, to join a PTA. Doesn't matter which one of our units you join, but it's always good to be a member. It gives us a voice. We're looking forward to working with everybody to make sure that all of our teachers and our students need everything they need, have everything they need to succeed this year. We've already been discussing our budgets and what programs and things that we can provide to our schools. We also have started working with the district to make sure that, since everything is going online, that the students' data privacy is covered and everybody knows how to access all of the platforms. We are looking forward to Frida Rossi is doing a webinar on August 21st that we hope that everyone will join, that will give a lot of information on some of the new things this year. And also, we just wanted to say thank you. We appreciate how hard everyone has worked over the summer, the teachers and the administration, to come to an agreement that we think will be very successful for the school year. And we want you to know that the parents and students really appreciate it. That's it.
Great. Thanks so much, Gabrielle. And then I just want to put on my old PTA hat for a second. And just, parents always ask about, what can parents do to help their children? And the number one thing that parents can do to help their student is to join your PTA. So please, everybody, get involved. And I'm not making that up. That is something that PTA National says. That is the indicator of your student success, that the parents join the PTA. So please join. On that note, we go to Superintendent's report. Dr. Drotti.
Let me unmute myself here. Thank you. Since this is the last board meeting we will have prior to the first day of school for students, I want to take this opportunity to welcome all of our students and parents back and staff back, and a special welcome to those who are first-time attendees in our district. And whether you're coming in at a kindergarten or a preschool level, or if you're transferring from another district, this is a great district, and I'm sure you'll really find it valuable in your experience. I do realize that coming back in a distance learning environment is not ideal as coming back in person. I want to assure you that we will make the best of the situation. The staff has worked, I'm talking about from district, from site level, from all the different roles we have in the district. We worked hard all summer in preparing to provide a robust distance learning experience. And you'll hear a little bit about that sometime this evening. We are in the process of finalizing a distance learning parent and student support guide. It's a document that we have accumulated all summer to be able to give to our families, so that way if they ever have any questions about grading, what the platforms we're using, just a whole approach to distance learning, it'll be in that document. I believe it is going out the goal is to send it out this upcoming Tuesday. And on top of that, each principal will start communicating with their parent starting this week and all next week. I understand that Rogers was the first out of the gate. I believe it was today, and the report back was that it was a great experience. The teachers, the parents really got a detailed explanation of what is happening at Rogers, and we expect the same to happen at all the different schools when they meet with their parents. Additionally, each teacher will be meeting with his or her or their parents during the first week or couple of weeks of school, where there's an orientation of how learning is supposed to take place in each classroom. And in there, you'll have more detailed information at the classroom level about how to best support your students in whatever way you can, and how the district is going to support the students. So in a sense, you're going to hear information that's going to come to the community about all of this is going to be packaged in 3 different ways. The district through the guidance document I was talking about coming out on Tuesday, the principals further meeting with each of the families. So as a parent, when you get that invite, please log on so you can hear details from your principal. And then lastly, when your teacher asks you to log on to listen to how the classrooms are going to be conducted, please log on to that as well, so that way you're well informed. And then the more well informed you are, the better your experience will be and your students' experience will be. There's great interest in us being able to provide supervision for students or parents that just cannot coordinate work and being at home at the same time. We recognize that's an issue. I think Chris mentioned, Mike mentioned that the state is starting to change a little bit in terms of districts being able to provide some kind of child care or supervision. So far, as of this past Friday, we know that there's language that at least allows the staff to be considered as essential learners, essential workers. So the same definition, the same support that goes to nurses and doctors for child care will go to staff, educators as well. So Dr. Susan Smars-Powell and Monica Simons are feverishly working on how we can make that a reality for our staff. And then eventually, I personally believe that because the pressure is going to be so much on families needing support in that way, that the state will change along with the county, and then eventually we can get there. So what I'm saying with supervision is, so far we believe that we have authorization to at least support the staff's children. We have to put the pieces in place, but eventually I believe that more opportunities will come where other parents we'll be able to support other parents, but we have to get authorized to be able to do that. And we're putting a lot of pressure on the county offices and also the state to try to give us something to help our families with. So more to come on that piece. And then lastly, so all the things I've just talked about so far are all issues of distance learning. Okay, the distance learning, and which students will start feeling that on the 24th. While we were preparing for that, simultaneously, we're also working on preparing for the time that we are able to come back in person. So far, the health department has given some protocols for each district to work on, and there's some clear guidance of what has to happen and has to be in place. So we are feverishly working to put those pieces in place. So when the information is more presentable, we'll be coming to the board and to the community to explain to the community when we are off the the list and given our county is given authorization to reopen, you at least know what has to happen in order for that to for us to be able to open. So what we don't want is if we are somehow given clearance and that we're not ready. So we want to be able to just hit the button when we're given the opportunity to open, and that we do it. Obviously, in a safe way, we have to follow those protocols. But I want to let you know we haven't given up on that. We have always worked simultaneously, trying to make sure that we are doing both things at the same time. To that end, there has been a lot of questions that have been sent to me and the board about how possible bonds, capital bond monies can be used to assist in reopening efforts or bringing students back. So I'm going to invite Carrie Upton to speak just real briefly about what the legal counsel has given us in terms of what we can and can't do. Not that we are making a decision on that. I want to be able to at least address that question because it seems to be reoccurring. And so whatever we decide with that, it'll be a part of our coming back plan. Whether we use bond monies or not, it'll be a part of that conversation. With that said, Mr. Upton, could you log on and just kind of explain what we know about that?
Yes, I'd be happy to, and I'm hoping I can be heard, or you'll let me know if I can't be. Hello, hi, Carrie Upton, Chief Operations Officer. I'm going to read this because it's a little complicated, so if you'll bear with me. The school board and staff have received questions regarding the availability of bond funds to make changes to school sites to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And staff has sought guidance from bond counsel to clarify if and when bond funds may be used on proposed expenditures. Measure SMS and Measure M were both presented to and approved by district voters under the authority of Proposition 39, which expressly provides the proceeds from the sale of bonds shall be used on the construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, or replacement of school facilities, including furnishings and equipping of school facilities, and not for any other purpose, including school operating expenses. The tax-exempt bond proceeds must be spent on capital improvements that are generally required to be permanent in nature and have a long-term useful life that relates to the long-term nature of the bonds. Shorter useful life projects may be undertaken, but to the extent that the item is non-permanent or will not be useful to the district over time, particularly for under 1 year, the item will be classified as working capital as opposed to a lawful capital improvement. Measure SMS and Measure M both expressly provide for classroom improvements and modernizations, improvements to grounds and facilities, which permit the district to reconsider its overall facility plans in response to COVID-19 considerations, but with long-term improvements which are in the nature of an investment in the future. So based on this guidance, we are working to differentiate between which expenditures may be supported by the bonds. The things that we are doing that we feel like are excluded in that because of their temporary nature include temporary outdoor tents, portable sinks, plexiglass screens, temperature kiosks, signage, and personal protective equipment. These items should not be paid for with the bond funds. The ones that would be included, though, include creating more outdoor learning spaces of a permanent nature, such as installing outdoor seating, permanent shade structures, or improving the HVAC system. These projects will have long-term impacts and will continue to assist schools and impact students in a positive way in a post-COVID world. So we're working with our architect teams to identify projects that will permanently improve outdoor learning areas. These discussions center around projects that can be approved by the Division of State Architects, procured and constructed in a timely manner. The Division of State Architects has issued a bulletin that allows for some expedited approvals based on the COVID-19 experience, but they still retain their responsibility to protect fire life safety, structural safety, and accessibility. So while it allows us to move a little more expeditiously on some things, other things take the time they take to get the appropriate approvals. Now, we're also working with our maintenance team and mechanical engineers to make permanent improvements to the ventilation systems across the district that will improve air exchange and filter out or neutralize bacteria, mold, and viruses. These include potential UV lighting, ionization, or also changing and using our filters. And we will have some immediate communications for the teachers for this as they return beginning next week, but then we'll be prepared for when we start stocking the classrooms with more students as we're able to go back into a hybrid or full form so that we are doing this. So we're looking at very clearly where we can and cannot use these bond funds, and where we can, we're moving expeditiously to do so. We should be bringing these projects to the board for approval at the next 2 meetings in September. Any questions about that?
Well, since this is superintendent's report, we're not going to get into back and forth. So, but
all right, thank you. That's right.
But I just wanted to just kind of answer some of those questions. I know there have been questions that I've constantly had to field via emails, but I wanted to kind of put that out there. We're not saying yes. We're just saying there might be an opportunity, but it will be a part of our reopening strategy as we bring it to you. So with that said, Mr. Keene, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you so much, Superintendent Drotti. Which brings us to consent. I'm going to pull a few items out of consent that we will need to talk about. So we're going to pull out number 4.3, which is administrative appointments. And we're going to pull out item 1.4, textbook approval, where we will have a small presentation. So I'd like to pull those two. Do we have anything else that needs to be pulled from consent? Maria?
I guess the approval of independent contractors, there was going to be an explanation. I want to pull it out because I need an explanation, I think, on
For 1.1, so pull out 1.1, okay?
I'm sorry, I have it on my phone, so.
Yeah, independent contractors is 1.1, so we'll pull out 1.1. Anything else?
And I don't know about the POs, because the POs, well, unless I just, well, you know, we'll just leave it at this and I'll just abstain on that one.
Okay. Okay. So on that note, so I've got 3 items that we're pulling out. Anything else anybody has? So do I have a motion to approve consent minus those 3? Moved by Richard, seconded by Craig. So all in favor of approving consent minus those 3 items? Lori is a yes.
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Yes. Craig is a yes.
I'm going to abstain.
Maria's going to abstain. Oscar?
Abstention.
Abstention? Okay, and I'm a yes, so that is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 yeses and 2 abstentions. So consent is passed minus those 3 items. Let's start with 1.1. We'll go in order. Approval of independent contractors. Maria, what was your comment or concern with this one?
I think we were raising, and if we can get, I guess, a clarification on the contractors, Harrington Educational Consulting, Jean Canico, and Nancy Cardenas.
Of course, definitely. So
Thank you.
Good evening, board members and member Limbauskas. Thank you for inquiring about these particular contracts. So the contracts that you have identified have been brought forth to the board for approval in order to deepen and support our work around CTE improvement and workforce development. So these particular contracts are being funded through Perkins and CTE funds that are specifically for CTE program development and improvement and cannot be utilized for any other items beyond improving the programs that we have in place. So for example, when we're looking at the Jean Canico and contract, the role and the deliverables within this contract is to be able to provide targeted professional development beyond the support that is being provided by our Learning and Innovation Coordinator that really builds on and supports distance learning strategies for our CTE teachers, and really also speaks to the areas of need that have been identified in the California rubric for high quality CTE programs. So we are utilizing federal funds that have been awarded to us as an organization to support and strengthen CTE programming. The Harrington Consulting contract is being brought forward in order for us to receive support in doing a comprehensive labor market analysis and gap analysis that is going to support the work of our CTE advisory board and really hone in the development and revision of our Perkins plan. Again, this contract is being funded by Perkins and has been vetted and reviewed by our consultants at the state, and have been identified as meeting the requirements of Perkins funding to support our programming here within SMMUSD. And lastly, the K-12 Pathway Coordinator, identified Ms. Nancy Cardenas, is being funded through the Strong Workforce Program. And this position was created and funded by the California Community Colleges in order to strengthen K-12 post-secondary transition for our high school students. We as a district, we're many districts, but we as SMMUSD applied in order to be awarded this grant and in order to house an SWP, a Strong Workforce Program Coordinator within SMMUSD to support us and to strengthen that communication and alliance for us, SMC. So although this coordinator will be housed here in the district, they will also be supporting other LEAs within the same efforts. We were just identified as a district to be able to house this individual and be able to develop those partnerships more intentionally with our community college partner, SMC. So all of these resources and these funds have been delineated and awarded to us specifically to support these areas of identified need. We would not be able to utilize our own site funds in order to have an example, the Strong Workforce Coordinator. That we applied for that award and we received that funding, and the purpose for that funding is to have this individual support us with that communication and strengthening partnerships. So that's what I wanted to be able to clarify in relationship to the various funding sources that are being utilized to provide additional support to our teachers and to really improve our CTE programs and to further develop our partnerships with labor markets and with our SMC partner. Any other questions?
Just a follow-up, just for you to reiterate. So the funding that's coming for these three consultants is not coming from general funds?
Not at all. All of these funds are restricted federal monies that have been identified specifically and awarded specifically to support our CTE program. So our Perkins money has very particular requirements that we have to adhere to. And if we don't use the funds, then for lack of a better term, we lose it, right? That money is lost. But since we have it and have been awarded these dollars with the purpose of improving our programming for our students through providing support specifically for our teachers and really having a greater understanding of the labor market to tailor our workforce programs, I think it's in the best interest for us to take advantage of these funds, especially during this time when we have to be ever so mindful of our fiscal resources. So we are not using general funds. These are funds that are restricted and have been awarded to us for this particular purpose.
So, and let me just add to that, just not necessarily for you, Maria, I know you know this, but just for the community out there, since contracts have been a big part of the conversation. We could have just not even applied for these contracts and just left it alone, and we would have continued to happen. Our budget issues would still be the same. Or we can seek for other sources of funds and apply for them to advance what we want to do anyway. So we essentially applied for these grants, got them. Now we want to use them. So I want to make sure that we're very clear to the community that because there are so many conversations around contracts this spring, we're being very transparent around where these funds are coming from. So I'd rather have the money to spend and do the work. Otherwise, we would general fund wouldn't be able to support this work anyway. So essentially, that's more or less a message to the community, not necessarily towards you, Maria.
Yeah, and if I may also add to that, these funds have very clear requirements and guidelines on how they are to be used. They are not to be used to supplant what we as a district provide through our general funds. So we can use them to pay our teachers extra hourly, but we cannot use them to hire teachers, right? So there are very clear pieces. We can hire to buy different equipment, but we cannot use them to buy pencils and pens, right? So they're really clear on how we can use these funds in order to improve and develop a stronger program.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Moore, for that explanation. So if we are okay with that, is there somebody who would like to move the item? Moved by Craig, second by Richard. I'll do a roll call. Lori?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Craig? Is it 2 thumbs up? Oscar?
Yes.
Yes. Maria?
Well, I'm abstaining because of other people in the comments in the community saying that I should, because I work with Nancy Cardenas at the college. So.
Completely your decision, and I am a yes. So that is five yeses and 1 abstention. So that item is passed, which now brings us to item 1.4, which is the textbook adoption. So I think Dr. Moore, you are with us again.
Yes, good evening, members of the board, Dr. Dradi, cabinet and guests. At this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Rosa Serratore, our math and science coordinator, who will facilitate a brief presentation to give an overview of the biology textbook adoption.
And Rosa, do I make you a co-host so you can share, or who do I make co-host?
Hold on. Trying to make myself more visible. Yeah, do you have the PowerPoint, Sarah, that was given to you?
Yeah, I can share it. Hold on. I don't have it.
I didn't think we'd be on this quick, so I put it on the iPad and I got fooled.
1 second.
Rosa, I am deeply offended by that.
No, I thought we were
I'm
late
kidding.
on the
I'm
agenda.
so kidding you. I'm kidding you.
But I have it on my computer here.
That's more praise than.
All right.
I know. I'm going to say it's a compliment.
Sorry, hold on. I have a virtual environment and a laptop environment, and the two do not work well together. Please hold.
And just to let our community know while we're going through all this, we have a 7 p.m. timestamp item that we will get to by 7:15 at the latest. So assuming that consent ends on time, we might not have time for general public comment before we get to the timestamp item, but we'll see where the time breaks out. Thank you.
Okay. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So good evening, everyone. In our audience, I know are a few of the folks that helped vet, review, thoroughly look at a lot of the available NGSS aligned biology books. And I know Miss Kate Song and Iana Haft and Charles Curtis might be in the audience too. I know he is a big proponent and really would like this book consented to. So the team here went on a hunt, and biology was first up to be approved by you, and also the books were coming out that were aligned to biology first, which is why that comes to you now. So they narrowed it to 3, and from the 3, they piloted a couple of them, and then if you change the slide, Sarah, the one that they've landed on is Biology of the Living Earth by Miller and Levine. It's tied to our 3-course model that we want to implement. The flow has the 3 dimensions. The portal is user-friendly, which was real important to us for both the students and the teachers. And the partnership with HHMI, it really provides the teachers with some real live biology-based data. So this was something that was a real plus for them because they've been piecing it together from that site anyway. So for it to be part of their book is a bingo for them. And then also it's got some great online support for the types of testing that are coming our way based on these new science standards, which aren't so new anymore, but you know. So the next one will give you a little more rationale as to why. One of our criteria also is to make sure that we can embed our social justice standards, which we can because this program has a lot of everyday phenomena that will allow us to do some of that claims evidence reasoning where you can piece together and take on a stance that students like to do that. The other piece that I think is wonderful too is the fact that there's science literacy so that kids learn to read nonfiction textbook type literature rather than fiction. And then going on with our project-based learning and wanting to have a bank of more performance-based pieces, this particular book it definitely offered this to the teachers. So they are thrilled that they could land on something like this. They're very hopeful that you will give it its big stamp of approval. And the last slide lets you know that that's their recommendation. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you so much, Rosa. So if I can get the screen back, wonderful. Board member comments, questions? Seeing none, I do see one, Craig.
Yeah, do we need to move it or?
I was gonna say, seeing none, can we move it?
I'll move it.
Moved by Craig, seconded by Lori, and we'll do a roll call. Lori?
Yes.
Richard? Is it yes? Craig? I see a thumbs up. Maria?
Yes.
Oscar?
Yes.
Thumbs up, and I am a yes, so that is 6 yeses.
Oh, the teachers are going to be thrilled. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosa, for the presentation. And now we have one last item for consent, which is item 4.3, administrative appointments, and I will move to Dr. Kelly for this.
So I believe that, first of all, we're excited to recommend to the board administrative appointments in our coordinator for special education position and our coordinator for literacy and language, which is going to be a reassignment. And Dr. Drotti is going to introduce our new administrators.
Great. So we're going to do something a little different, and I'll spare our new coordinators in speaking to the public. So I'll read your resume, and you don't necessarily have to speak to the community at this time. So so you can relax on that end. The reason why we are bringing this new coordinators, is because we have 3 vacancies during the end of the year, 2 in special education. And then we went through a process of interviewing, and we thought we landed on some great hires, recommended great people that can really help us in our district. So I'll introduce first Mrs. Hilda Salas, the new special education coordinator. Mrs. Salas comes to SMUSD with 24 years of education experience in Ventura County. The positions that she has held include a school psychologist at a high school, director of a charter school, director of non-public school, and program specialist for a school district. Mrs. Salas is bilingual in Spanish as her native language and is skilled in promoting student achievement. She's very knowledgeable about special education policies and law, great at supporting teachers, knowledge and effective instructional strategies, and she works very well with parents and community members in helping them advance their individual education plans. Mrs. Salas holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology and a Master's of Arts in School Psychology from Cal State Northridge. She also holds a Master of Arts in Education and Leadership from Cal State Channel Islands. And we are pleased to have Ms. Salas join us. I believe board members, you met her at the closed session, and this is just more or less an introduction to the community. So welcome to District, Mrs. Salas.
I know Dr. Drotti said that you don't have to talk in front of it.
Oh, you're my boss. So
I would love to give I'd love to give you the opportunity to say hello to our community, and just if you'd like to share anything.
Wonderful. I am just very excited to come on board. I have read quite a bit online about the community that Santa Monica Malibu Unified serves, and I love the idea of all of the diversity and the cultural enrichment that is provided, social emotional support that is provided to our children, which is extremely important for their growth and for moving them forward in their education and in their future. But I'm just excited about getting started. So thank you very much for letting me join the team.
Thank you so much. Can we take all the appointments at the end, or do we need to vote on each individual one?
They're all three together as one item.
Wonderful. And Dr. Drotti, I think when you're hiring wonderful people like this to our district, I think it's good to hear from them and welcome them to our community. So let's bring our next contestant in.
The next person I'd like to introduce, also in special education as a coordinator, is Mr. Joseph Garcia. Mr. Garcia comes to us from LA Unified School District, where he has served in various positions for the past 16 years. Some positions that he's held include resource specialist and general ed 6th grade teacher, special education program specialist. He was also an assistant principal at one point, a coordinator for computer systems, and then he also taught a special day class as a teacher. Some accolades we found impressive in the interviews include a national board certification with exceptional needs students. He is also fluent in Spanish and is skilled in promoting student achievement. He's highly knowledgeable about special education policies as well. And then the reputation of working well with community members and families to support their individual education plans. Mr. Garcia holds a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology and a minor in History. He holds a mild to moderate special education credential and multiple subject credential from Cal State Fullerton. Also and a Master's of Arts in both Education Administration and Counseling from Cal State Dominguez Hills. He holds a certificate as an independent educator plan trainer, and he will definitely be a huge support to our district. So Mr. Garcia, please welcome and go ahead and mute yourself and
I just want to say thank you, everyone. You know, it's a pleasure and it's a privilege to be at Santa Monica Malibu Unified. I'm going to live up to the expectations and support all students and make sure they all go to college and make sure they reach their fullest potential and support the community members. And thank you guys, I appreciate it.
That's not fair to Ms. Salas, because Joseph was able to prepare for it. I just put you on the spot. It's wonderful to meet you both. So Dr. Kelly, do we have a third announcement? What are we doing?
We do. We have a reassignment, but we did want to introduce her in her new role. And so I'm going to have Dr. Drotti, who's going to just give us a little bit. Are you? Or no?
Yeah, I read it. You also greet the community as well. Okay. But this new person is not a stranger to the district. She's been here a year already as an assistant principal at Grant, but her talents required that we pull her. Not that role wasn't, but we needed her. So Mrs. Nazareth Riquelme, we're pleased to announce her as a new coordinator of language and literacy. Mrs. Riquelme has been the half-time assistant principal of Grant Elementary School this past year. Prior to joining the district, Mr. Riquelme served as an academic dean of Teach for America, Los Angeles Institute. He has previously worked for KIPP schools as a dean, assistant principal, regional math lead, and teacher for over 5 years. She served as an adjunct professor of literacy at Loyola Marymount University for KIPP LA cohort of educators. She started her career as an elementary teacher in Los Angeles, teaching grades 1 through 5. In all, she has more than 16 years of education experience. She has spent some time teaching English in Argentina, along with teaching CrossFit. Maybe we can start school here as well. Mr. Riquelme has a bachelor's degree in philosophy and psychology from UCLA, while minoring in education. She also has a master's degree in elementary education from Loyola Marymount University and school administration and policy from Cal State Northridge. Please congratulate Mr. Riquelme. So you can unmute yourself and just say hi to the community.
Hi, everyone. I am really excited. Like Mr. Drotti said, I joined the team last year as assistant principal at Grant, and has been really remarkable to meet the students, the teachers, the families, and see that the Santa Monica Malibu Unified is a family and feels like a really close community to do this work. And so I'm inspired to continue to do that with the team at the district and to continue to support our students and our families. Thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you.
Great. So, Dr. Kelly, just so I know the logistics of this properly, do we have to formally approve the reassignment as well as the two?
No, you have it's part of the consent agenda. So
okay. So that's in front. Do I have somebody who wants to? Lori?
I do.
Lori's moving it.
I feel privileged to make this motion to approve all these three people.
Do I have a second? I see Oscar second. I see Maria with third, Craig with the fourth, Richard coming in last with the fifth.
You can consider those votes.
so let's do a roll call now. Lori?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Craig? Oscar?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So congratulations and welcome to SMMUSD. All right. I do believe we have time. That's the end of consent, I should point out. Let's, as a courtesy to the individuals who have signed up for general public comment, let's push our timestamp to 7:15, which we are allowed to do, and move to our public comments right now. Board Vice President Lieberman.
Yes. These are, as a reminder, and for anyone who's never seen one of our board meetings before, public comments are a time when people can sign up to speak about issues that are not agendized. Because of that, we, as the board, cannot take any action or can't have a discussion about those items because they're not agendized for the public. However, we can hear the comments, and so tonight we have three people wishing to speak. They will have 3 minutes each, and their names are Monica Razone McMillan, Danny Morales, and Chris Mock. So we'll take you in that order. Hopefully you'll be able to unmute yourself, or Sarah can find you and unmute you.
Go ahead, Monica.
Hi. Hello, everybody. My name is Monica Razone McMillan. I work for the Child Development. I've been working for the Santa Monica Malibu School District since 1996. We have been helping families for many generations, and we have supported and nurtured many families in many generations. We've had situations in our child development and our schools that they come from different avenues of their life, like homelessness, abuse, custody battles, with restraining orders. We have been giving children a place for themselves as well for their parents. We don't see our students as students. We see them as our children. We give them the love and the guidance that we give them. And also we have been also working hand in hand with Santa Monica College for future preschool teachers, and they come to different sites in our preschool, and the teachers have, helped them and support them as well. If you do not reopen our preschool program, we'll be no longer to help our families as well as our community. And without our liaisons, we need them. We work hand in hand with them. So Thank you so much. Please keep us in mind. It's been a blessing for me to work with families for 24 years, and I want to continue working and giving what we all give to our families and children. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Danny Morales, followed by Chris Mock.
Let's see, I unmuted.
I just had tuna.
Just John. There he is. Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Daniel Morales. I've worked for 5 years for the CDS program for Franklin Elementary. I work in the pre-K after school program. I've come to love this program and the services it provides. And to stop this program right now, I think would be a great disservice to our parents, because I've had firsthand interaction with these parents, and they've told me that the level of childcare that is outside of the school district is subpar in their opinion. And I'm saying myself as a staff member and the rest of the parents in the community, we find that the kindergarten program after school is very, very important as for providing transition to the first grade. It's a place where the children get to socialize. They get to. Hello?
Hi, Mr. Morales.
Hello. Okay, I can see myself, but again, this program is essential to the interaction and also to the transition from kindergarten to first grade, because it's an everyday program, and besides providing some semblance of curriculum and after-school activities, it provides an essential service for our working parents who need to have a credible and legitimate place to have their children spend their time while they're at work. And I believe that it's essential that this CDS program be refunded. It has to be, it's a touchstone for our parents in the community and our children, multi-generationally, by the way. They have really, really benefited from this service. And I really need from the bottom of my heart to ask the board to recognize child development services as being essential for working parents, for our children, and for our dedicated early education staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Chris Mock, you'll be our last speaker.
Thank you, board, and thank you, Daniel, and thank you, Monica, for your input and for your stories. Just moving forward, as we've keep saying in this whole CDS layoff mode, these are essential services. Preschool is essential. This is something that we really need to address, and we really need to come forward, and we really need to have a plan to bring these services back. They are essential services, and moving forward, we've got to really come to the table on this and figure out how we're gonna offer these services and bring them back to our families and to our students that were in need, our homeless populations, as well as our students who are foster care, as well as other students who are in need, as well as our families who are going back to work and they need these services. So we look forward to having those conversations and to bring these services back. They are essential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public comments.
Lori, I think we have one more public comment. If you look, unless it's I think it's Eyal Yerman.
Okay, I didn't see that. Oh, that's new. Okay, I guess that's a public comment.
Sure, I can talk. Hi. First of all, I want to stay behind those talking about the CDS. I completely agree. My comment is on a different matter. As a parent of a young child, finished kindergarten and going to 5th grade. On my perspective, I didn't see distance learning as very effective at this age. From his from our perspective and other parents that I've talked to. My question is, is that the general? Do you consent with that? Is that the general finding that you found? And B, if indeed, I really ask what is the point of having distance learning at this young age instead of looking for any alternative. I don't know, we can think of other alternatives. Of course, I understand that going back to school is not an option, but I didn't see distance learning as really effective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, Mr. Yerman, if you want to get answers to your questions, this is not the time that we can do that, but if you want to send an email, you could do that, and you'll also be receiving information from the district, from your school, from your principal, from your child's teacher in the next week, I think. So thank you very much for your comments, and we understand your point of view. That should bring us to our next item, John.
Thank you so much, Board Member Lieberman. Which we do have a timestamp item. So I want to move to major action items J1, which is the 45-day budget revision. And I assume we will see Melody and Gerardo for this presentation.
You definitely will. Good evening, board members, President King, Superintendent Drotti, and fellow cabinet members and the community. Tonight we're going to be, as soon as I share this with you all, we will be actually looking at the revision. I gotta try to move this out of the way so I can see what I'm looking at. We're going to be doing a 45-day revision of the budget that was adopted in June, the end of June, and it's good news, so that's always a good thing instead of coming back to you with bad information. It's really just basically one sheet here instead of giving you a big, long presentation. One of the things that whenever we were adopting the budget, if you remember, there was a the governor actually proposed a 10% reduction in our COLA, and since then it has just gone to the floor of being a 0% COLA. So the changes that actually happened, we'll look at column B, C, and D, and then column E as well, and then we could talk a little bit about F and G here. But on line 2, as you'll see, the education protection EPA account, we had budgeted $1.8 million and taking the 10% back off of it, or adding the 10% back in, excuse me, brought it back to the $2 million that it has always been. So that's a $181,818 increase to the revenue budget. Same thing on line 4. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. It's not the same thing. There's a new development that we've had a new established charter school called New West Charter. It's in addition to the River Oaks Charter, and we do have to make a contribution towards that as $287,000, and that's a $249,000 difference, a negative to the budget. On line 6, you'll see that we have the minimum state aid is something that's very normal. We've always come in at the 8.5 million, 8.585, and at that 10% reduction, we were thinking it was going to be 7.8 million. But being that we put that back in there, that's $780,531 to the positive for our revenue. Then if you'll look at 2 others here, as you'll notice everything's highlighted in yellow, our lottery put the 10% back in there. And we had a little bit of a reduction to ADA, so it actually caused a little bit of a decrease. However, we did put the dollar amount back in. It's only a $2,000 decrease. Then you have your mandated reimbursement block grant on line 10. We had budgeted $372,727 based on the 10% reduction. Placing that 10% back in, it's at $410,000, giving you a difference increase of $37,273. Then in Measure R, we did make a adjustment there for a projection of the 2021 Measure R adoption plan. We just know we know a little bit more now than we did before, and so that was actually a reduction of $129,859. We don't see anything changing in that arena anytime soon. Then line 14 for Measure Y and GSH, this is the City of Santa Monica, where we share the funds. This is information that we kind of talked about a little bit, or the FOC spoke to earlier this evening. And we just really stayed with the 14% reduction due to the city and to the FOC's recommendations. So we're at $12,537,500 there. And as you can see, we did bring that across all the way to the next 2 fiscal years. Then we have a joint use with the City of Santa Monica. We had a reduction of $93,173, which reflects the increase in the rate, but a decrease in the proposed usage at this point in time. So that is something we needed to bring to your attention. And then we also have the Santa Monica Ed Foundation donation, and it came in at $2,068,000. And so that's an increase of $68,000. What else do we have here? And let's go down to nothing really changed in these expenditures for salaries and for benefits and the like. However, down into this area, we did have a change in line 60. We actually added line 66, 67, and 68. This is additional COVID-19 expenditures, which we're not able to cover with the CARES related funds. That is $500,000 that we believe will be an additional expense that we'll have to bear at this point in time. Those are approximates. And then extension of the certificated school year, we had to add in another $657,528 for the 2021 year, and that's for an additional 2 days. And another additional 2 days for our classified staff in this school year is at $154,124. So as you scroll down, or as I scroll down, and we take a look at what is the difference in our increase or decrease to our budget, actually we had it caused us to go a little bit deeper into our deficit situation, about $718,160. So and a lot of this is also reflected over here. I'm trying to move you guys around. I get all your pictures in, it gets kind of caught up in everything else. Apologize. So in column F, we pulled the 10% across and made sure that everything is reflective of those funds. Like I said, on the Measure YY or Measure Y and GSH, we did carry that $12.5 million all the way across to both of the 2 fiscal years. And then on the joint use agreement, we pulled it back to the $246,827 of what we believe it is this year. And so we just carried that forward. As far as the deficit and what have you, nothing has really changed too much when it comes to the next 2 fiscal years. So we won't spend any more time on that. I will take you down to our funding formula, our local control funding formula, the calculation that you've seen many, many times. And the only reason to bring this to your attention at this point in time is that we took the 10% COLA off of the actual base grant, and it came off of the other areas that that were affected as well, such as your minimum state aid and what have you that we discussed earlier. I believe last time we spoke, we were a little over $21 million of basic aid. Now we're at $13.2 million of basic aid. And with that, that's pretty much all I have. And I can stop sharing my screen so that we can have conversation here. If I can get us back to where I want us
to do all the bones. So just
So,
keep going.
so Melody, if you give me the screen back, I can see the board members.
Trying to get you there, and somehow I got shrunk down and I can't get it.
Dr. Drotti, you want to jump in?
Yeah, maybe just for clarification, I know we, Melody, you identified the contribution from the Ed Foundation, but we also know that Malibu PTAs are going to be presenting a contribution also, which is will match what their costs are. When are we going to see that?
We should, that contribution, we should be able to see that. Well, we'll actually update that in the first interim, which will be in December, because that comes in for at the end of October 31st. But because I got that news today or yesterday, I believe it was, and so that wasn't something that we were able to include in here, but that was good news.
I kind of wanted it out there. I know some people in Malibu are working hard. They're probably going to ask.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Dr. Drotti, sorry to interrupt. That actually, we had a very preliminary number when we adopted the budget. So back on the sheet that Melody shared that everybody has access to, it's actually line 65. We did a very preliminary number of 250,000 and we had not made a change to that. So just for the community and the board, line 65 has a $250,000 line in there. I think we added it at the last minute, so just so you're aware.
Okay.
Gerardo, do you remember what the number was? I didn't memorize it, nor did I write it down.
Yes, it is 300.
Like 56.
And 37,543.
Which is a really good number. I think those that were on the email said, I love money, I love money, I love money. That's what I said to all you. So very good, Malibu. I'm happy to see that happen.
I did want to offer one other thing about the charter school. We had a couple of questions last time we talked about our property tax, our in lieu tax for charter schools. Just to clarify that the district is not an authorizer of charter schools for our district in our area, but we do have to pay a property tax in lieu property tax. And so anytime any new charter is on there, we do have to pay what they would have been getting in property tax. So I know that was a question last time we talked about charter schools, but we are not a charter school authorizer as a district.
It's a pass-through, is what it is.
So do we have any questions or comments from board members on this presentation? Oscar, then Maria.
On the question of the charter school, I've never seen such a cost for us in our budget. Where is this charter school located exactly? What jurisdiction?
I'm actually not sure of the location, but this has been, I think the reason we probably haven't noticed it before is because it's always been very small. It's always been about 10,000, 20,000, and
30 almost.
Yeah, 30,000. In the years that we've always had River Oaks charter, it's hovered around 30, 40,000. But adding a second charter increases that transfer of property tax in lieu of the charter authorization.
And do we expect more charters to make the same appeal in terms of our budget, or is this all we can expect for this fiscal cycle?
Actually, it really depends. We were not expecting this new West Charter School, so it could be that we would be required for more in the future. So that's something that we probably need to start getting our eyes and ears open to as much as we can, and so that we can anticipate costs so that when you adopt your budget, you have those forecasted.
Okay, thank you.
We're not necessarily aware of any others at this moment.
Maria?
No, just to let you know, the New West Charter is on Pico, just north of Barrington. I mean, east of Barrington. And let me ask you this: are we considered to accept these charters that technically they would be in LAUSD, not really in Santa Monica? And maybe LAUSD does not give them the charter, but they can come to us? Do we have to approve them?
No, we have to remember that we're not an authorizer of charter. It's because of our students. Students who would be ours are attending this charter. Therefore, we have to pay what those students' revenue, if you imagine a student walking around with revenue on their head, we would have to pay that transfer of property tax to the charter school because they would be our student otherwise.
Oh, there's Santa Monica students going in. Oh, okay.
That's correct.
So Gerardo, you're basically saying that a Santa Monica student travels with ADA to the charter that they go, so they get the ADA that the charter would have normally gotten.
Thank you for that clarification. I have a question though. In terms of we're talking about the monies that the city of Malibu is supposed to pay. Was there an agreement reached or signed that they were going to pay us $340,000, or is that what we thought the expectation was going to be $340,000?
Before we get, Maria, maybe this can, our next topic is discussion items 1 and 2, which is going to be a report from SMEF and from fundraising in Malibu. So do you want to hold for that and we can talk about it at that time? It might be a little more apropos.
Okay, because it has nothing to do with the fundraising piece. This is just the city of Malibu.
He's asking about the joint use agreement.
Yeah, my mistake. I'm sorry, Maria. So the question was about the joint use agreement, about the facilities where they're going to be paying a higher rate. My mistake. Sorry for the.
Yeah,
so,
Dr. Roddy wants to take that.
I was going to say, I think we can defer to Carrie Upton. He was in the process of that for us. I see.
Are you going, Carrie? You're on mute, Carrie. Well, I can at least explain it to y'all.
Yeah,
Carrie, you're on mute. If you're talking, you're on mute.
Muted.
There you go.
I am not muted. Okay. We raised the rate for the Malibu city use from our basic fee, which is a subsidized rate, to the direct rate, and that was the agreement. And the turn on that was the city decided to use less facilities, so the revenue that we get is less. The positive thing of that is because they're using less facilities, it does allow our facility use team, when we come back from this COVID experience, to also raise more money by doing other permits. So we do believe we can recapture some of that funding.
Good question.
So it was not. So the whole notion is not going to be a draw on our revenue. So it's not going to be an expense that.
So does it have to then be readjusted in the budget, because it's no longer 340 then? So that number has to be readjusted then.
That's what this item is doing.
It did readjust it.
Yeah,
it did? Okay. All right.
We adopted it at 340, and the 45-day revision is changing it to 246, based on what Carrie just explained.
Thank you. Good. That's a good point, Maria, to bring up. Thank you. Lori.
I think we have to move approval on this. So if there aren't any questions, further questions, I was going to move approval.
Oh, okay. If there are
45-day changes.
So moved by Lori, seconded by Maria. Roll call. So Lori.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Maria.
Yes.
Oscar.
Yes.
Craig. There's a thumbs up, and I'm a yes. Did I get everybody? I went in a word order there. I think that was all 6. Wonderful. So that's been approved. Thank you, Melody and Gerardo, for presenting that, which moves us to discussion items I, 1, and 2. Quarterly report from SMEF, and then a quarterly report, centralized fundraising in Malibu. So I don't know who's speaking on behalf of SMEF tonight.
I am, but
I hear Linda. All right, Linda is speaking on behalf of SMEF.
Start my video because the host has stopped it.
Hold on. Give me 1 second. Ask to start video. Okay.
Great. Thank you. And before I start, I just want to say, with all good humor, on behalf of the Malibu fundraisers and the Santa Monica fundraisers, next time we want to go before Melody and Gerardo so that they don't spoil our big reveal. Okay? But anyway.
I got a text that way.
So seriously, before I do start, I do want to echo Gabrielle Cohn's appreciation to the union presidents, the administration, our teachers and staff, and all the parents who provided input to plan a really good school year for our students. Much appreciation to all of you. So hi, everybody. I'm honored to be here this evening to review our 2019-20 fundraising campaign and present a check to you for the Santa Monica 2020-2021 programs. I reported to you on our last fundraising quarter on June 25th, so I'll just give you a quick snapshot of the year in its entirety tonight. Next slide, please, Sarah. Sarah?
Can you not see it?
Nope. Okay.
One moment there. Hold on.
Can everybody see it?
I'm able to see it.
Okay. Here we go.
Let me try again.
No, I got it, Sarah. There we go. Hold on one second. Okay. As I mentioned to you in June, it was certainly a roller coaster of a spring, but overall we had a decent year despite the obvious circumstances. You can see here that we had a total of 3,242 donors, 2,566 of whom were parents. We actually raised slightly more from parents last year, despite seeing a 9% decrease in participation. That means that parents who donated last year gave more on average. Parents who were in a position to give really stepped it up and contributed more, and we are very grateful to them. We also raised 5% more from our major donors for a total of $985,408. A big thank you to these generous donors as well. Okay, next slide, please. As I told you about our wine auction in June, but again, we were able to raise $148,000 from our first ever virtual online event. That was really new for us. We were thrilled by the amount raised despite it being less than what we usually raise for an in-person wine auction. And here's more good news. Our grandparent circle keeps growing. At 19%, this was the largest increase we saw of any group of donors, and we look forward to growing this group of donors this year. As we all know, many of our local businesses have felt the negative impacts of COVID-19, and that in turn affected giving among this group. While we are still very excited to have raised $339,270 from our corporate heroes, it was a 5% decrease from the year before. Next slide, please. So we are honored to present the Board of Education tonight with a check for $2,068,155 to fund programs in Santa Monica for the 2020-2021 school year. This is slightly less than we gave you last year, but given our turbulent year, we are so thankful to the many donors who contributed to make this happen. Next slide. I just want to say thank you. And honestly, what would our report be without our big check presentation? So there you go, folks. Here, I gotta find myself. Here we go. That's the number. And I thank everybody for their help and support this year. And I look forward to raising as much as we can this coming year. Thanks, everybody.
I thought you would bring the check. Yay!
Linda, why didn't you let me know ahead of time? I would have made a check here. You could have handed it, then I would have held it up.
I practiced. I was trying to figure out how to put it in that little box. I really did practice.
So unless there's other comments, I think on behalf of the board, thank you, Linda. Thank you at Foundation for your work in very difficult.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Thank you
Linda.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you and all your staff.
You're terrific.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll go to a report from our new group, Centralized Fundraising in Malibu.
Yeah, I'll bring up Karen L. Harden, I believe. She'll be the one to talk about this. And if you're just as a reminder for everyone to remember, this past spring, you guys authorized for the PTAs of Malibu to do the fundraising instead of having an entity. We're still not, so they're still going to be in the process of establishing an entity, but the PTAs soon after went to work, and Mrs. Harden, Karen L. Harden will explain the results of that, of their work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Drotti. And I forgive you for, sharing our big reveal and sharing the contents of my presentation before. But congratulations, Linda, as well, and SMEF for that huge, successful year in light of everything that you experienced. And for the record, I'd like to say in all good humor, I think we would like to go before SMEF in future. Okay, I'm going to share a screen. We made a few slides for you. As Dr. Drotti said, I'm Karen L. Harden. I'm VP of Webster PTA, and I'll be reporting on the centralized fundraising efforts of Malibu, representing the hard work of the Shark Fund and the elementary school PTAs. And I wanted to start off with a brief recap of the past year. We began the year with a centralized fundraising entity, which was able to raise a little over $90,000, thanks in part to a very generous donation from the Boys and Girls Club of Malibu of $25,000. And this was against our program costs of $415,000. In June of this year, our centralized fundraising entity dissolved. The secondary schools, Malibu High School really was fully funded for their stretch grant with $35,000 from LEAD, and the elementary schools were partially funded. So we had about 15% of our costs covered, which brought us to our June reality check for the elementary schools. We, had a gap of $323,000, without which we would lose our 12 aids PS Arts program and our stretch grant, which funded Planet Bravo for both schools. Webster was able to make a commitment of $48,300 with funds we had raised throughout the year to contribute to centralized fundraising, as well as a budget actualization to allocate excess funds to the centralized fundraising effort, which left us with a $275,000 gap. And so the Board of Education, like Dr. Drotti said, allowed for a one-time exception for the PTAs to donate funds directly to the district in light of the situation. So thank you very much for that. We just needed to raise those funds. So the elementary school PTAs joined forces, and we planned a direct drive and an online auction. There were 4 of us from the PTA. So Jennifer Pappas, who is president of Malibu Elementary School PTA, Heather Campy, president of Webster PTA, Jessica Butler Bell, who's our communications VP at Webster PTA, and myself on this team, along with the help of our principals, Lila Deruti at Webster and Chris Hertz at Malibu Elementary School. But we're not fundraisers, so we sought the valuable counsel of Linda Greenberg at SMEF, and we just want to say thank you so much for your support during this effort, Linda. Our goal was to raise $275,000 in 7 weeks during a pandemic in a community that was still recovering from the Woolsey fire. And so how did we do? We raised a little over $38,000 through our direct drive efforts. And then we had a school saving grant from the Malibu Foundation in the last weeks of our drive. So they allocated an emergency grant to us for $160,000. And for that, we can't thank them enough for, once again, stepping up to support the Malibu community in a time of need. In addition to the grant, we're working with them on some really fun initiatives and in partnership with the city of Malibu as well, outside of school, that are related to arts in our community. So it's a really great partnership that we've developed with them. So what this means for the coming school year is that Malibu High School, their stretch grant is still funded, so $35,981. For Webster and Malibu Elementary, we fully funded our instructional aides and Planet Bravo. So it's a program that's been in place at Webster and now will be introduced to Malibu Elementary School, and has been, you know, hugely beneficial, especially in this time of distance learning. And PS Arts, unfortunately, was not funded, but we hope obviously to bring it back next year. So in total, which you've already heard, the total amount that Malibu is able to contribute to our programs this year is $337,543, which is amazing with this effort. And if we were there, we would give you a check, a big check photo op in person, but instead we did, you know, a little photo op on our own and a little bad Photoshop on our own. But this check will be in the mail to you, or the rest of this amount will be in the mail to you shortly. And so looking forward, centralized fundraising in Malibu. So we will have, you know, two centralized efforts. So with the elementary schools, we'll continue to work together as a community to establish a centralized fundraising entity this year. We're already in fall, so the PTAs, you know, we have a plan in place to start fundraising for what we estimate to be roughly $450,000 for our AIDS, Art, and Tech next year. And then once that entity is established, we'll continue to support them until they're, you know, in a place to move forward. And then the Shark Fund will continue to be the entity that raises funds for not only the boosters and the PTA at Malibu High School and Malibu Middle School, but they'll also raise for the stretch grant at the high school. And it's it's an established entity with new leadership. Karen Lieb will be coming on to lead that entity. And so my last slide, I'd say that if ever there was a PSA for the PTA, this would be it. You know, we had a stellar group of parents who stepped forward and, you know, in 7 weeks were able to really turn the situation around. And have to give a shout out to our council, Gabrielle Cohen and Claudia Sizer, who are also, you know, hugely helpful in this process and just guiding us through it. And then of course, the Boys and Girls Club of Malibu for their first, you know, donation to the centralized fundraising entity. And we cannot thank the Malibu Fund, you know, the Malibu Foundation enough for their efforts. They really saved our schools this year. And finally, huge thanks to the Board of Education. You know, thank you for your support, Dr. Dradi, for your support. And with that, I'll just pause for a moment, see if Jennifer, Jessica, Heather, Karen, if any of you on the line want to say anything. Or we can have a moment of silence and just bask.
Hi, this is this.
Oh,
Go ahead,
Light.
Sorry, can I say something? This is this is Lila DeRudy, the principal of Webster, and I cannot thank our PTA and Malibu Elementary about the remarkable work they were able to do in such a short amount of time, and their commitment to really supporting our schools and our students, as you've shared, given the last 3 years. We are so grateful for your work and tireless efforts, and I'm very proud of the Malibu Foundation for also just joining us in this on our donor family. So thank you so much. The pictures were lovely too. I like to see Asher in the photo. I'd love to see our students. So thank you so much, Karen. It was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Heather, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. Thank you, Linda Greenberg, for all of your support. Karen, thank you. You are amazing and spearheaded this. And thank you to Malibu Foundation. And yes, just thank you.
Great.
Well, I hope I can speak for the board, Karen, when I say thank you to you and your team for jumping into the fray like this and delivering results. And I know we have a lot more work to do, but we have a lot of confidence in what you guys are doing. And thanks from the school board for the work you guys put in. It's not easy, and like you said, in light of everything. So kudos to your team. And thank you, Linda Greenberg, again for all your work.
Thank you to both groups. Thank you.
That's terrific.
Can I say one quick thing?
Sure.
I just want to say to both Linda and Karen, I really apologize, but we really did try to have you agendized before Melody and Gerardo. So it was an accident, and many apologies for stealing both of your moments of thunder, but thank you so much for all your hard work. It's really been great and incredibly cooperative. I love hearing all of the sort of circularity and the thanks to each other and all of that. And so thank you so much.
Great. So on that note, we will move on now to our major action items, starting with major action item J2, which is adopt resolution number 20-03, endorsing Proposition 15, the California Schools and Local Communities Funding Act of 2020 on the November 3rd, 2020 ballot. I just want to speak briefly to this. This was actually on our agenda for March 19th. Yeah. And I'm sure all of you can remember that on March 13th, we closed our schools, and that first meeting on the 19th, we only did the bare bones of work to keep our schools operating. And then I completely forgot that we had not re-agendized this. So I am glad that it was brought to our attention that we forgot to bring it back. Prop 15 addresses a split roll for the existing Prop 13, our property taxes. It does not affect residential properties. It affects commercial properties only above the number $5 million. There's an expectation that this proposition, if passed by voters, would bring $4.5 billion to K-14 public education. And I think Board Member Lieberman is going to read the whereas, and then we have one public comment on this.
Yes, thank you.
Come on, beautiful.
Oops.
I assume that was directed at Lori Lieberman, and Lori, you may now read the whereas.
And now therefore be it resolved that the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District Board of Education endorses the Schools and Communities First Funding Act for a ballot measure in November 2020. And we do have one speaker, as John said, Natalia Zernitskaya, if you're still on here.
Yep. Hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Excellent. I apologize. I'm calling in from my mobile. So good evening. My name is Natalia Zernitskaya, and I am the president of the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica. We support Prop 15, Schools and Communities First, as it will reclaim $12 billion annually for California schools and communities, while providing one of the largest tax incentives in a generation to spur new investment in small businesses. Additionally, it ensures strict accountability so that the money goes directly to our students and communities. So thank you very much for endorsing this measure that will help schools and communities across the state, including ours.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you do and for your support for this measure. And thanks for calling in from your car.
So on that note, I will go to the board to see if I see a motion already from Lori. Do I see a second? I see a second from Craig. And Oscar and Maria, I see everybody. So let's do a roll call of this. I think this is an important measure for our community. Lori?
Yes.
Craig? Is 2 thumbs up. Richard? I think you're off audio. I'll come back to you. Maria?
Yes.
Oscar?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Richard, I know you would want to be a yes on this. Can we bring you in? There you are. Richard, how can I get your vote?
It's a yes. I'm sorry. I just had a family urgency, not emergency, but urgency. Sorry. So yes. Thank you for waiting for me.
Okay. So thanks. So that I think I got to all the board members. That is 6 yes votes. So the board SMM USD Board of Education formally endorses Prop 15 for the November 3rd ballot. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, John.
Next item is renew resolution number 20-02, declaring an emergency and delegating authority to enter into contracts necessitated by the spread of coronavirus COVID-19 and review of action taken under BP 2210 emergency resolution, which was adopted originally on 3/16, and emergency resolution number 20-02, adopted 7/16/2020. Do we have a report on this, I believe?
Yes, we do. This is Carrie Upton, Chief Operations Officer, once again. Thank you for approving the emergency resolution for purchasing. It is required under, because we are a CUPCA district, that you come back at every regular meeting and once again approve this action until such time as the emergency no longer is resolved. As per the resolution, Dr. Jawadi has presented Board President Keene with a memo telling of the activities that we've had. That memo is attached here at the bottom. Just to say, at this point, we have used this authorization to make purchases of $365,000. Yes, $365,000. Of that, $104,000 of that was for personal protective equipment. $241,000 was for facilities. That included mostly was portable sinks. Also, though, includes signage, plexiglass screens, and $20,000 to support our consultants who are helping with all of our documentation. So that's what our use is. So we request once again that you approve this with a 4/5 vote, and we will continue moving forward to get our schools ready for the return of students.
Great, thank you so much, Carrie. Do we have any questions from the board on this resolution?
Move the item.
Seeing none, I would ask for a second. Moving by Lori, seconded by Craig. Oscar's in there too.
I have a question.
Good question.
Oh, sorry, question. Let's move it and then we'll have questions. So moved by Lori, seconded by Craig, and now we'll go to questions. Who has questions on this?
Okay, so Carrie, thank you very much for bringing the item back, and I'm glad that you explained why we have to vote on this. One of the things that for me, I've been getting a lot of questions from parents is, and I know you brought it up in terms of that it was unclear though, you know, in terms of like, can we use any of the bond money for hybrid model or outdoor on-campus teaching? Like, can you tell me, like, so tents, for example, or any you know, materials that would be utilized, you know, to assist in us having safe you know, learning environments on campus for small numbers of students, of course. Can you please reiterate or just explain, just members of the public, because I'm getting a lot of questions on that, and I wanted you to help explain that one more time, just so that we know that yes we can or no we can't. Like what are legal ways for us to assist our students and even in small numbers and returning to the classroom?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Oh, wait, Dr. Jawadi, you want to say something first?
Go ahead, and I'll just fill in wherever there's gaps.
Okay. What we understand from bond counsel is that we have to be just careful how we use those expenditures. We should not use the expenditures for things that are considered temporary. One metric is that they'll be used 1 year or less, where we can use bond expenditures for things that are long-term capital use, that will have a much larger, longer use. So you mentioned tents. We could not spend money on tents because the Division of State Architects would only allow those to be up for no more than 180 days, where we could spend money on new outdoor permanent shade shelters. So that would last for, you know, 15, 20, 30 years. So we are looking at how we can use those expenditures, and the architects have some really good ideas The question is, even then, it'll take us a few months or more to get through the division of the design, the division of state architects, the procurement. We cannot use bond funds for things like portable sinks or plexiglass, but we could use bond funds to go in and improve our HVAC system with UV lighting or ionization, or bringing in air filtration systems that can be used on a more permanent basis, that we could use when we have fires and everything to make sure we have better indoor air quality. So there's a little bit of a metric we have to look at of how long will we use it, what is the use. And so we've done that assessment, and the things that are currently on this list are being purchased with general funds. The things we might do with bond funds, we are going to see what we can do to do those through what we call a CMAS or piggyback, or something where we already have a set rate for the purchase. But we could use this if we needed to do some of those larger expenditures. But we want to make sure we get the best rate we can for the thing we can put in as soon as possible.
Right. And Carrie,
does that help answer the question?
Yeah, that does. But when you said bond counsel, you're referring to our law firm, correct?
Yes, Courtney Jones with Jones Hall is our attorney. That is our, approved bond counsel. And so with any type of expenditure with the bond, whenever there is any type of the bonds, when there's a question, we do refer to her, and she gives us the legal opinion for that.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to make, I think maybe I heard differently, but I just want to make sure that there are, whatever funds we use to bring students on campus, there are protocols we have to adhere to before that we're given that permission. So if the idea of bringing students, like the idea of supervision, all of that, we have interest in doing that, but right now we have not been authorized to do those things yet. As soon as we get the authorization, as I plan to fulfill our commitment in supporting our families that absolutely need it. We know that the staff's children need it. As of last Friday, as I mentioned earlier, I think the state is really now considering teachers and staff's children as essential workers. So they've given childcare ability to us to expand our childcare practices through the school day instead of after school. So to support to support the staff, but we're still in the process of putting those pieces in place. But eventually, yeah, we want to support families that can't stay home with their kids and have to go to work. Yes. So as soon as we get that information, we'll let you guys know what the game plan is.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other board questions for Carrie or Dr. Drotti? Seeing none, we already have a motion moved and seconded. We'll do a roll call, and we need a 4/5 vote for this, so I need 5 of 6. We will need 5 of 6 board members to vote in the affirmative for this to pass. So Lori.
Yes.
Greg. 2 thumbs up. Richard.
Yes.
Maria.
Yes.
Oscar.
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so that is 6. Wonderful. So that item passes. And it brings us to item J4, high school approval learning through interest. Are you introducing this one, Dr. Mora?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much, Board President. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Devon Smith, our Coordinator for Learning and Innovation, who will walk us through and introduce our team and walk us through this course.
Okay, hello everyone. I am trying to take over the co-host. Pardon me one moment, and I will be sharing my screen.
You have access to that, or?
Yes, she just gave me access. Okay. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, greetings everyone, Board President Keene and all the board members, Superintendent Drotti and Executive Cabinet, and union leadership, community, and everyone. Tonight, we are very excited to be proposing a new course for high school students throughout the district. This course will benefit all students in the development of valuable soft skills needed for the workplace and life in general. So this will be initiated at our PPBL pathway of Samo High. And tonight, to share this proposal with you, we have Jessica Risch, the principal, and we have Nicole Nicodemus, our assistant principal of the pathway. So I am going to take it to them, and I will be moving through the slides for them. Do we have Nicole or Jessica?
I can't turn my camera on. Should I just unmute?
Sorry, one moment.
Hi, and Nicole did. Hopefully, Nicole was able to turn hers on as well. Sarah.
Yes, I'm here. I'm good.
So, thank you, board, for having us tonight. We are Jessica Risch and Nicole Nicodemus, and we're pleased to talk you through the Learning Through Interest course. I'm going to start with the rationale. So this course allows for co-creation of content between the teacher and the student, which provides student voice and choice while still holding students accountable through benchmark assessments. It means that there's relevance in their learning with community interactions, and it's designed for all or any Santa Monica Malibu High School student. It's a one semester course that can be repeated for credit, and that creates some scheduling flexibility for our high schoolers. On the next slide, we'll see the overview. So it's structured in a way that an individual student can explore passions or career interests, or for a group of students to participate in a community action project. And that means that either avenue, as an individual or a group, both avenues are intended to impact the community. It's a natural follow-up in the years after freshman seminar. It's a chance to cultivate career-ready skills, such as interviewing, resume building, interaction with people across the public, and the teacher becomes the facilitator of this process with the student. Nicole's going to take you through the content.
So while the content is fairly open, so that students can really explore their interests and passions, there is a structured framework that goes into 4 phases as seen here, where they start with empathizing in the ideation, where students start to define and identify what a social justice issue is that they might be compelled to investigate, or a need in the community, or an individual interest. They would start to do informational interviews and research, bringing experts into the class, or students going into the community. Obviously, in COVID times, we're looking at bringing experts, obviously, into Zoom meetings in order to be able to bring the outside real world component in. From there, they would then construct proposals or ideas and develop a plan and goals and action steps. And then it gets into the meat of what the course is all about, which is the implementation, where there's continued research, but it's also about working with experts in a field, or volunteering at an organization, or interning with a specific expert, and really gaining experience and skills. And then it culminates with a presentation of learning, sharing what they have understood and learned, and what kind of ideas they might have been able to develop. The course materials are added benefits, but the course can be done without the materials. So in this process, we're looking at really valuing the reflection and the learning process itself. And so one way to be able to document that is to use online project management platforms, which allows for customization through like Thrively or HeadRush. Naviance is on there because there's some beautiful surveys, personal interest-based kind of conducting surveys that can jumpstart students trying to figure out what their passions or career interests are. And then Road Trip Nation is in and of itself a career exploration to provide some guidance if that's something that the teacher or students really need. There's an optional text for writing research papers, which I'll touch on when we get to the standards. So the course of study really is all about empowering students through choice, design, and plan of action. It really pushes through those career and technical training skills and knowledge, because students will be doing interviews, they will be doing resumes and cold calls, which really builds on their ability for post-secondary workforce readiness. This is built on, or the course is sort of designed on a pre-approved course in the UC A through G requirement. So this would be an added G elective to students as an option for continued exploration. A huge focus in SMMUSD is that all graduates are socially just. We like to call social activists. This is an excellent opportunity for them to do current real world kind of explorations on social issues that are impacting what's going on, in addition to kind of developing those career and college skills. They'll be coming up with original ideas. They're analyzing and evaluating an issue. They're using problem-solving processes. They're presenting their information. They're building relationships with their peers and experts and mentors in the community, all of which is student-driven, and they're doing it they're learning by doing, which I think really validates the experiences of our students that are already kind of doing some of these passion projects on their own, but not necessarily getting credit. So this is a way to sort of really validate that with academic learning. Speaking of which, the standards, in order to really validate the rigor in every student, even though it might be open topics, that these are the key benchmark assessments that will be really aligned, so that we're ensuring that there's rigor in all the projects, whether it's individual, small group, or whole group. They'll all be writing proposals. They'll all be writing research papers. They're going to be reflecting on their process and their journey to understand the depth of their learning and documenting that. And then, of course, the oral presentation at the end. They all connect with social justice standards, in particular identity and diversity. I think, being able to do a project in high school of this nature is really building pride and confidence in our students, a sense of self within the community, not to mention the great relationships that they'll obviously be building with people in the community. Depending on the type of project, it'll also really delve into the justice and action social justice standards, which really tie in to what the district is hoping we all do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are any questions, we are done with this particular part of the presentation, all the slides.
Board, do we have any questions for any of our team that's reporting? They were so thorough and wonderful that we're just happy to see this new course coming in, which I think is the answer. In that case, do I have a motion to, oh, Maria, is that a question or just happiness?
No, just happiness. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think, this is something that's really, I don't know, I'm excited with this actual new class, because despite COVID, people don't realize that, project-based learning and career education still moves on. It doesn't stand, it doesn't stop, despite the fact that we won't probably have internships, physical internships. I know that in the summer, a lot of students did internships, through Zoom or whatever platforms they use this summer to do their internships. So it's just giving I think, students another way of how do they reinvent themselves, how to become innovative for what brings them on. I mean, tomorrow's world is going to be a lot different. Here we thought it was going to be different anyways with our project-based learning direction, but now even more so. But I think if we're able to give our students the leg up and give them a strong foundation like in this course, they're ready to go. So thank you. I think it's a real positive all around.
Great. On that note, I will look for Richard, are you moving?
Yes, please. I'd like to move the class.
Maria, I'll give it to Oscar in a second on this one, unless that's a question, Oscar.
Yeah, I'll second, but I have a quick question.
Great.
Is this class, is it available for students at Santa Monica High or just for students in the project-based learning program?
Any of our high school students.
Oh, okay.
District.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's a great question. Thanks, Oscar. Terrific. Then I will do a roll call on this. Lori.
Yes.
Craig. 2 thumbs up. Maria.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Oscar.
Yes.
And I am a yes. That is 6 yeses. Thank you very much for presenting that, Devon, Nicole, and Jessica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now it brings us to item J5, approve memorandum of understanding between SMMUSD and SMMCTA regarding reopening of schools for the 2020-21 school year in light of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Drotti?
Yeah, so this will be a tag team between Dr. Kelly, Dr. Mora, and myself. So I will have Dr. Kelly lead off.
So we have before the board a memorandum of understanding that the district has negotiated with our teachers union, with SMMCTA, with regard to the reopening of school and distance learning. Our negotiating teams have met this summer to discuss and negotiate the impacts of the school closures, the movement into distance learning. We started before we had made a commitment to returning distance learning, so even our negotiations had to adapt and adjust. But a couple things I want to highlight about the MOU is that one of the things that the MOU has is a commitment to the teaching and learning expectations that were established by a teaching and learning working group that has been meeting for several months, and it's a collaborative team between teachers and district administrators that Dr. Mora facilitated masterfully, I have to add, in that a great deal of discussion about setting expectations for what distance learning will look like as we go into the new school year. The MOU also includes a commitment by the district to fulfill the requirements of the reopening protocols established by County of Los Angeles Department of Public Health. There is a protocol with a number of components that the district is required to fulfill before resuming on in-person teaching and learning, having activities on campuses. It also is done in collaboration with the California Department of Public Health, where they have established a threshold that before reopening, schools and school districts have to be, the county has to be off the watch list, the state's watch list for a period of 14 consecutive days. Some of the other areas of the MOU is that it does allow teachers to work remotely or on site. We've rescheduled back to school nights. Our school sites want to get information into parents' hands sooner than waiting to the second or third weekend before having a back to school night. So parents can expect those back to school nights much earlier. We have added 2 days of professional development and planning for teachers and extended the school year at 2 days. So students will return on August 24th as opposed to August 20th as was originally planned, but the school year then will end on June 11th. We have some additional components for training for substitute teachers, some leaves of absence, and language about teacher evaluations. A couple things I want to say is that the heart of this is, though, those commitment by the negotiating teams to support the collaborative work of so many educators during the summer in developing these teaching and learning expectations. It does have components for the time that teachers will be online, from 230 to 240 minutes daily. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the amount of time the students will receive. That will vary as the teachers will be using a variety of strategies to engage students. but it is a commitment by the teachers to be online and serving and providing educational experiences for students. So we're looking forward to it. I know the next step is, should the board approve this memorandum of understanding, our principals are prepared to take the teaching and learning agreements and adapt them to their site-specific needs and quickly communicate that to parents. And Dr. Drotti spoke that some of the principals are already starting to do that. At the school sites, the school leadership teams, the faculty advisory councils have been meeting and taking the tentative agreements that we have and trying to shape them to meet their specific needs. And I think that's where this will really come to life, as the principals and the teachers start to share what it'll actually look like on a daily basis for students at the school site. There is a commitment in the teaching and learning agreements for regular communications from parents about what each next subsequent week will look like for the students. At that point, I'm going to stop and see if Dr. Moore or Dr. Drotti want to add anything, and then I'll open to questions from the board.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. I also want to add that within our expectations, there are also expectations for students and asks and expectations for families because as equal partners and collaborators in this journey. So we are asking that our students are participating on a daily basis, that they are logging on, that they are completing the assignments that their teachers have provided. As Dr. Kelly mentioned, the teachers have made a commitment to deliver live instructional opportunities for our students, and our students will experience that in different ways. So when they're not directly interacting with their teachers in a live format, then our expectation is that they will be working on any assignments and or with their peers through any breakout room or virtual experience that has been delineated by their classroom teacher. We ask that our parents support their students in logging on every day, in completing their assignments. And if there's questions and wonderings, to please reach out to our teachers. As Dr. Kelly mentioned, our teachers have made a commitment to communicate regularly with families and send out that information every week. So if there are questions from our parents, please, I ask that you connect with your teacher to seek clarification and have any wonderings and questions answered so that we can best support your students and that we can really strengthen our partnership in developing the most robust and engaging distance learning experience for our students. We are also working on a distance learning guide for families that will be coming out next week. Within that guide, we will also include and develop an expectations distance learning at a glance document so that you can see what are those key expectations, but you can delve deeper into that document to get all the nuances and further information. But we also want to be able to give you that one pager at a glance so that we all have a general understanding of what our expectations are for students, for families, and for our schools and teachers. I also want to take a moment to just really recognize and appreciate our teachers, right? And because they came together and engaged in this process and were thoughtful, intentional, and worked through many topics and ideas that were coming forth during this collaborative journey. I also want to thank our administrators, our site administrators and our district level administrators for facilitating and engaging in this journey as well. We could not have achieved this without their support and their openness and willingness to engage in this process together. We've been saying time and time again that we will make it through together. All of us taking it one day at a time, communicating and ensuring that our students have the best opportunity and learning experience when we all work together. So a really heartfelt thank you and appreciation to our educators and to all of our district leaders in their support of this work.
The only thing I would add is, and I think Mark and Dr. Kelly and Dr. Moore did an excellent job of summarizing things. The only thing I would add is I want everybody, the community, the parents, the board, everybody, staff to understand that we are a learning organization. Meaning, so far this is our best foot forward, but we need to stay in constant communication on whether what's working, what's not working, and be responsive to that. So we're also gonna establish systems in place where we have formal check-ins on how we're doing on a regular basis. But for you parents out there, please continue to communicate with your teachers as well as your principals as things are working for you or not working for you, and they are more than willing to work with you in making sure that whatever you need is accomplished. So I think we just got to continue to communicate with each other, and more details will come around about those formal evaluations of the work. That'll come out pretty soon, but we want to continue to stay engaged.
Thank you so much, Dr. Drotti, Dr. Moore, and Dr. Kelly. At this point, let me get a motion and a second, and then we can move to some questions. I see it. I'm going to go Maria moved it and Craig seconded it. And now let's go to board question. If whoever wants to make a comment or question, let me see a hand so I can get a queue going. Who wants to go? So let's go Oscar, Maria, and we'll go for Oscar, Maria, Lori, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So in terms of the, the question on accountability, what do we get to tell parents, in terms of how we hold ourselves accountable, not just teachers, but also students? So what mechanisms or what protocols do we have in place, or plans do we have in place to ensure that that instruction is happening, that we're holding people accountable, and especially students? What are we doing for those students that aren't engaging? How do we follow up with those families or those students to shore that up if they are not engaging?
In relationship to accountability and being able to evaluate student learning, our teachers have made a commitment to work together to develop common formative assessments, to implement a diagnostic at the beginning of the year to be able to assess student learning, and throughout the distance learning experience, to be able to monitor that learning through the development of those common formative assessments. So that's part of how they will evaluate learning on a more systematic way. So maintaining our district assessment calendar so that we can have those benchmarks along the way. Additionally, what our teachers have done in order to support that work is made a commitment to come together to develop a distance learning guaranteed viable curriculum and identification of the common and essential learning expectations for students in order to ensure coherence across our districts and across our respective school sites, so that we can bring teachers together to engage in deeper conversations around the learning that is taking place within the classrooms during this period of time. So that's one piece around the assessment and learning and demonstrating evidence of student learning. In addition, we are responsible for monitoring attendance for all students and maintaining records of work completion, participation in live interaction and instruction. And if students are not participating, then we are responsible for reaching out to families. And there's been a commitment by our teachers to reach out to families, connect with families, and then ensure that support staff within the school site is also aware, who can then continue to do additional outreach, whether it's their counselors, the assistant principals, house principals, APs, our support staff, our bilingual community liaisons, so that we can all create a wraparound experience for our students and make sure that they are all engaging. And if they are not, figuring out how we can address those barriers that are impacting their ability to connect on a daily basis. I know in addition, Dr. Kelly and I are working on trying to develop a multi-tiered system around engagement, so that there's deeper clarity in regards to how we are going to support our sites in this particular realm. If students are having challenges or we're noticing that they need additional academic support, teachers have made a commitment to work with students in small groups to address the needs of at-promise students or any student that is experiencing any difficulties or struggling during this distance learning experience. So teachers have made that commitment to ensure that we are monitoring and supporting and providing additional supports to students that need it.
On the question, what about if a student misses a class? Let's say a student had a doctor's appointment, whatever. For whatever reason, a student misses a class. Will the student have access to the recorded lesson plan?
Students will have access to the information that is within the learning platform, so the Google Classroom or Seesaw. Part of our MOU addresses the issue of recording any of the live sessions. So teachers won't necessarily be recording the live sessions that are taking place, but they will be providing any information for asynchronous learning that would have been assigned within that given week.
So the MOU, if we approve it today, the students won't have the ability, if they missed a class, for example, a live lesson plan, they won't have the ability to see a recorded version of that lesson plan, correct?
Yeah, I would treat it as if what will happen if they miss the class while they're on session in class. There is no recorded lesson for that. You just connect with the person to say I was absent and what assignments do I need, and the teacher will provide the assignment. So and there's opportunities, I think, in the schedule for teachers to check one-on-one with students and support staff and all that. So I would treat that experience the same as what you would do if we were live, not live, but we were in person. And if a person is missing school in person and something happens where you try to catch the student up. So yeah. I don't see a difference between what our response will be there.
I would also, if I'd just like to add that the students would have, because our teachers have made a commitment to give that weekly summary or that update around the learning for the week, they would at least have a sense of what is going to be coming up if they are missing because they have an appointment or something else happens that impacts their ability to log on. They would have a document that would give them information around what are the learning outcomes for the week, what are the assignments that will be placed in their classroom or on Seesaw. And again, all of that information will be available for students through their Google Classroom and their Seesaw so that they can access that information there.
Two suggestions. I was on a call with a group of parents, and I just want to offer these two suggestions. One is if we can have like a distance learning hotline, like, because sometimes it'll be hard to connect with a teacher, or for whatever reason, a parent can't get, a hold of the teacher, but there was a hotline somewhere that you can call with if you're having, connectivity problems or just any type of issues that families or students might be facing. So a place where they can streamline some of that information. The other thing was also about study groups. Not all students, feel comfortable or they don't have friends, as much as other students, or it's just not as easy for them to engage in study groups. And so trying to, have some training for teachers to facilitate that, to encourage it or somehow help students form those study groups, which I find in my household very effective when my 14-year-old is connecting up with other his peers, in a class and doing study groups. Anyway, just those are the two suggestions that came out that I wanted to share. Thank you, though.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Next, we have Maria, Lori, then TJ.
Well, thank you for reaching to where we are today in terms of the agreement with the teachers. Great work for everybody that was involved. But one question you did mention, Dr. Mora, that there are going to be protocols regarding accountability and just the educational piece, the work that needs to be done during distant learning. Is this all, I know that teachers haven't gotten together yet. I think some have, some didn't. I know we've gotten great emails from teachers that took online courses during the summer through, the Teachers College in New York and all over the United States, whatever. And we're trained. But are we going to be able to say that, we added 2 additional days, will that be sufficient enough to, at least to get the teachers off the ground, to get ready and for them to feel comfortable? Or do we still need to maybe set up a backup with other teachers that already, some teachers can grasp it. I didn't grow up in the tech age, So for me, it's harder to get online. You know, that's those kind of platform issues that maybe teachers might get stuck on. That will there be support for these teachers to help them through this process? I guess, Dr. Mar.
No, yes, of course. So yes, we have been, we know that many of our teams have been meeting prior to this formal review of the MOU and the expectations, and reviewing the documents that we've had in order to start planning and coming together to develop their own site schedules and to begin the initial planning. We do have professional learning that is scheduled to take place next week. As you know, we have our convocation and we have different workshops and sessions that are focused on the integration of technology, the use of Google Classroom, the use of Seesaw, using Zoom in order to more authentically engage students. So we have sessions that really focus in this particular areas. In addition, we've reached out to our teacher leaders, and they as well will be facilitating workshops for their colleagues during Monday for teachers to sign up. Then we have a second day of additional workshops on Tuesday morning, where teachers can then continue to receive additional support and build on the learning that took place on Monday. Teachers will then also have 3 days of site-based professional development and planning time, where they will come together as grade level teams and or department teams to delve deeper into preparing and setting their Google Classrooms and our Seesaw classrooms to be able to launch for the 24th. But we're confident that we will be able to provide support to our teachers, not only prior to the first day of school, but even during the school day, during the school year, within our embedded professional learning time that has been built into the schedule. Our teaching and learning redesign group really felt it was important and necessary to be able to embed professional learning during the day. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we will be providing 90-minute sessions for either secondary or elementary, so that they can delve deeper into topics of interest, so that and be able to have an opportunity to receive input, plan and collaborate together to design lessons, go back and implement, and then return the following week within that same group to share best practices, discuss what worked, what didn't, and then build upon that experience for the following week. So really providing an opportunity to engage in a cycle of inquiry and a type of lesson study per se, because they're coming together to receive training around. An example topic would be the integration of the social justice standards within a distance learning classroom. They would commit to participating in that 5 to 6 week series, and they would delve into that work and then be able to implement and return and fine tune their practice and become well-versed in that implementation. And then they'll have a second opportunity to choose a different topic of their choice. Let's say trauma-informed schools or classrooms, how to address the social emotional needs of students. That would be another topic that they can focus in on in order to create more meaningful experiences for students. So we feel that we have a plan in place to be able to support our teachers in this area. Additionally, sites will continue to provide support through their Tech Jedis and through their own modified day schedule to really hone in on the site specific needs, and us as Ed Services are here to support them and make ourselves available to provide any additional support or assistance in their own tailored professional learning that has been identified by the site SLT, the school leadership team, and the administrator. So that's it in a nutshell, the professional learning experiences that we have that I feel are going to equip our teachers. And again, it's a learning process, right? We're going to be developing and growing through the journey.
I see that. No, definitely. I think one of the main things that perhaps us now, we can take it and get that information out to the community, because all we heard was all the negativism from the spring. So we really need to build this up as a big, hurrah moment that we've reached, and that we're moving to something very positive, that we're looking, and I don't doubt that all teachers here have the capability. I mean, at Santa Monica, Malibu, we have a great, great teacher staff that are ready to support all the kids. But it's a team effort, like you said, it's a team effort, just working within the schools, working within the district, and more than anything, I think it's going to need the support of parents. If especially with what Oscar raised, of certain families that might not connect up or might have issues, that if you know a neighbor of yours that you haven't seen or there's been issues, all you have to know is go over there and knock and figure out what's going on. And if they need help, then you probably, as a parent, go over there or just knock and say, "Can I help you?" You can go over there with your mask and just knock and say, "Do you need help?" Or call them, or do what you need to do to reach out, because I think that's going to be a big plus, to be able to reach out to all the families, especially for those that whose children didn't really connect in the spring. And I know, thank you to Dr. Frida Rossi, who's putting together that Parent Day a week from tomorrow on the 20th of August. And it's something that we were talking about. In fact, her and I will be working, because I am the liaison with DLAC. We will be contacting the parents just to make sure. We're going to have a cafecito with the DLAC parents just to see if they have any issues, and hopefully they can help each other out, and we can bring in a lot of parents that really haven't engaged yet in the Spanish speaking community. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I think everybody as individuals can do. We just have to make sure we find that little piece that we can help in this district and move it forward. Because, I mean, I think it's great what we're doing as we're moving forward. The only other thing I'll bring up, my last point, was I did hear in the news, because I've been following all these, being involved with a lot of webinars and so from a lot of school districts. But I think somebody mentioned, my sister mentioned that she heard, I think it was Montebello Unified School District, that they're actually allowing for the first time students, like kindergartners and first graders, they're actually going to have the parents drive through the school so that their teacher can stand out there and wave their students hello, so that the students can see the face of their teacher visibly, so that they feel comforted. It goes, "Oh, my teacher," and then they move on. But that's one of the things that they're using in their school district. And I thought, that's cute. I mean, that's a great idea, because, all we're going to see each other is on these computers, but it's nice to see actually put an actual face, with these children, and the teacher too. We'll get to see all her students. But anyway, that's all I have. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Marr. Great job. All of you did such a great job. All our, Sarah and Jackie and Dr. Kelly and Dr. Dradi. Thank you all so much. I think you worked hard to get to this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. And so I have Lori and then Richard.
I'll try to be quick. I too want to just echo everyone's appreciation and thanks to all of the teachers and administrators who participated in this. I know it's been a hard and long haul to get to this place where we have an MOU that I think really does its best and puts forward our best shot at sharing expectations, so that parents and students will know what things will look like once they receive also their more concrete version from their sites and their teachers. And so that teachers hopefully will have the flexibility, along with the commitments they have, to teach in the ways that work for them at whatever grade level and whatever styles they have. And that there are built-in accountability mechanisms for everyone who's a part of this. So I do want to really, really applaud you all. And it's really hard to come to a place like this. And I just want to say that Dr. Trotty, I think, said the most important thing here, which is that I don't remember his exact words, but the idea was that we know there will be glitches, and we're going to keep having check-ins and evaluations of what's going well and what needs to be rejiggered or revamped. And that's the key to doing something like this. Nobody has this down perfectly. But I feel like we're in a good position to put our best foot forward. And I really, really commend you for doing all this. And I do want to say that I really don't know whether it's a helpline or what it is, but I think Oscar's point about having some easy place where everybody knows that if they have, not a question that's intended for their teacher or something like that, but a tech issue, or they don't have a laptop, or that, you know, something that's a more, I don't want to call it generic, but it's not really so specific to their teacher and to their particular classroom. I don't know what that looks like, but if you could, and you don't have to answer it tonight if you don't have an answer, but I think if we could think about having some place like that that everybody knows they could go to, I think that would be a terrific addition. So thank you again for everything, and I'm looking forward to the new school year.
Thanks, Lori. And Richard?
I just want to say thank you also to all of the to the players. Lori, what you just mentioned and what Oscar mentioned earlier made me think about my work at the college and how I'm teaching on Canvas and Zoom, and I have colleagues who are on Blackboard. And there are toll-free numbers for the users to be able to get technical assistance. So I was just thinking like IT or tech support might be, especially all those humans, those persons that might need to be, you know, everyone on deck as we get started to make sure that everybody is able to have access. But I also want to just thank our community, because while we have gotten lots of emails, I have found that most of them have been very polite and very kind and saying, looking for information and want to know how this is going to unfold. And so I think that it's important for us just to communicate well with the families and our students. But I think and how this is going to work, I think we also need to make sure that we are championing our teachers and our staff who are working, I would think, nonstop. As a teacher myself, I know this. It's really not one of those 9-to-5 type jobs when you're getting ready in this environment. So thank you to Dr. Drawdy, your staff, Dr. Moore, Dr. Kelly, and working with so many different people who are at different levels of understanding as how this is going to work. It's truly remarkable what you've been able to do and to come to this consensus point. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Craig Foster, do you have anything you want to add?
I think it's all been said. I would I'd add my gratitude to how hard everybody's worked. I mean, we've got to acknowledge the district's building the distance learning capability at a high professional level. So many people have put so much work into this. It's really impressive. And I'm grateful we have so many talented people to pull it together, teachers and staff and outside places where they've learned. So it's fantastic. I know how hard people have worked. They're already exhausted. And like Richard said, we got to do everything we can to help them through the year.
Great, thanks, Craig. And I don't see why everything having been said already prevents one of us from speaking, because I'm about to now. And I just want to reiterate a couple things. One, I really like the idea that Oscar brought up, that Lori reinforced, that idea of having one destination for parents to reach out to, whether it's a hotline, whether it's an email, whether we have somebody who can man it, even if it's not instantaneous. I'd like the idea of us having more communication with parents. So I think there's probably at least 4 of us here who are saying that's a great idea to follow up on. The next thing I'll say is, we know this isn't written in stone. We know that we're going to have to adjust, and we will adjust. And I think what we need to remember is the board is fully committed to supporting instruction. And our senior team, our superintendent, our classified staff, our teachers, our principals are fully committed to providing that instruction. We're coming at this from the best point of view. We're all pulling together. And let's keep the communication going. Let's keep talking to one another so we're not isolated, and let's keep working for solving the problem for our students. And I think we're starting that tonight. Hopefully we can continue that. And on that note, the item has already been moved and seconded, so let's take a roll call. I'm going to go the other way around the room. Oscar.
Yes.
Thank you. Maria.
Yes.
Craig. TJ.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So that is six votes in favor. Thank you all for your hard work on this. Teachers, admin, this was not an easy lift. Let's get to work. And I think related to this is item 6, approval of revised 2021 district calendar. I'm guessing Dr. Kelly.
Yes, thank you. I want to just build upon the previous discussion and first I want to express my gratitude to SMMCTA and their negotiating team and all of the teachers who participated in the teaching and learning work group. It's a tough place being on those negotiating teams. They have a responsibility to 600 plus unit members, but they worked smart, thoughtfully, quickly, responsive, and really put together this MOU, and it came together very nicely. And I just want to express my gratitude. We have a wonderful group of people who sit and talk about these things. They're thoughtful, they listen to each other, and they're respectful. So I want to thank everybody who participated in the process. Part of the MOU was that we added 2 additional days to the work year and changed the start of the school year. So we're asking the board to approve a revised district calendar for 2020-21. Based on those 2 days, we made some tweaks to it. I do want to make one change to the calendar. If you were to take a look at where the box says employee work dates, and it's specifically the last row where it says classified school year, it states that their start date would be August 21st. We've heard from site leaders and that they really want the paraprofessionals, the instructional assistants, even our cafeteria staff, our campus monitors, our physical activity specialists to come back and to participate in training and be a part of planning and preparing for the school year. So we're asking that that date be changed to August 19th, which was the original start date for them. When you adopted the 45-day revision, the cost of those, because it will cost to add 2 additional work days to that group of classified employees, the cost was embedded in the 45-day revision.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Kelly. Do I have, let's get a motion first. A motion to approve the revised calendar? A motion by Craig, seconded by Lori. Do I have any questions for Dr. Kelly? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Maria?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Craig? 2 thumbs up. Oscar? Thumbs up, and I am a thumbs up as well. So that is the new district calendar is approved. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. And now we have the last major action item of the night. Award of contract, Santa Monica High School Exploration Building and Gymnasium Project. Leaseback RFQ/P number 20.16 SMS, McCarthy Building Companies. Carrie, Steve Massetti, who do we got?
Starting with Steve.
That's the best way to do it. But take it away, Steve Massetti.
Thank you. I believe I'm now sharing my screen, yes?
You are sharing
yes.
Your screen. Wonderful, okay. Okay, thank you, President Keene and all the board members. We're at an interesting point in this project. We're moving forward from schematic design to design development. And there are many milestones in a project like this, and as is typical for all of our new construction design projects, I'd like to check in with the board periodically. Tonight's also your opportunity to approve the contractor for this, which we'll get into in a minute. The first time you saw this project was last year when we talked about modifying phase 3 of the Samo High campus plan, and we were given direction from the board to incorporate the capstone program and change the rest of the campus plan as we go forward. The next time you saw it was, I think in June, we brought an item for incorporation of the PLA, and we intend to move forward with this project as subject to the PLA. So when the contractor proposed on this project, it included being subject to the PLA. So we start any project like this with programming, and our programming was led by Brain Spaces. They're our ed planner, who's a sub-consultant to HEDMRY. As part of that, we had really scores of meetings with the campus. And when I say that, I'm talking about, we met with students directly, both in person early in the year, and then of course by Zoom afterwards. We met with over 45 staff members, department heads, teachers, coaches, and so forth. There are 3 parts to this project. The first part is there's 2 buildings in 3 parts. The first building consists of 2 parts. One is capstone, and the other is the art department. And then the new South Gym is the other building, or the third portion of the project. One of the things that our ed planners did was they started from surveys that were prepared by all 4 years of students in the previous year, and tried to figure out what are the best pathways. What are the pathways that would actually get interest? The 3 that were developed from that, and this is really, they were developed from that, but developed by the department heads and teachers, were Project Lead the Way in Engineering, Government Law and Policy, and then Health, Wellness, and Sports Medicine. And Carrie will talk about where those go. The art building, technically part of the exploration building, but separated, and you'll see how that works in a minute, contains 2D and 3D art. The South Gym will replace our existing South Gym, and it's pretty impressive. And again, you'll see that in a minute when we get through our pictures here. So as I mentioned, we're at the point where we're ready to begin the design development phase. By bringing the contractor in now, we're able to take advantage of their expertise, in particular related to costs. So we're looking at ways to get this project within budget. We have some concerns right now with the budget, as is always the case. But by having our contractor on board now, as opposed to later when we have typically done it in the past, we're able to make the changes now at a time when they can be made without significant impacts to the deliverables. Okay, and then, whoops, I went too far there. Okay, so the overall scope of the project is demolition of cafeteria and history building, construction of the new South Gym and the exploration building. Of course, there's going to be landscape and hardscape. And I forgot to mention, one of the groups we met with was the FDAC, and they've reviewed this a couple times. And we got a lot of really good input from them, in particular related to landscape and hardscape and the grading of the campus. The architects, I think, did a fantastic job incorporating that and developing the ideas that came from the FDAC. And you'll see that as we go through this, what we're going to end up with. Then ultimately, once we're done with the construction of the new facilities, we'll demolish the South Gym, we'll demolish the art building and Drake Pool building. Now, we may be able to tear down the Drake Pool building at the beginning of the project and use that space for contractor laydown area, because of course we'll have our new pool with Discovery building. So I'm going to turn it over to Kerry, and he's going to walk us through the where we are with the design process right now.
Okay, well, thank you. What's sort of interesting is that in many ways we are following the exact master plan for phase 3 that you approved back when we approved the campus plan a couple of years ago. We did make one adjustment with the placement and siting of the building, and that's where you see where the capstone and art building is. We are crossing over Viking Way or 6th Street. And we'll have a fire access underneath that building that will allow for that. Part of the reason for doing that is it allows the entire building to shift up the hill just a little bit, which allowed us to keep the South Gym, so we were able to save at least $2 million in swing space and making like a temporary gym or a temporary dance studio and keep that building in use until we complete the new gym. So that was a major savings. Also, it really ties the campus together a little better. Some of the things we were really pushing for is making sure we have a lot closer unity of the campus and that everything came through. There's also a lot of emphasis on outdoor learning areas, and we'll show you both the things around it and the things above it. that allow for outdoor learning. Many things we'd like to have now in our COVID experience that we don't have yet, but we're working on them. And also really looking at the connectivity of the campus. One of the things I want to sort of point out is there's a little squiggly path. What's great about that squiggly path is that by squiggling, it allows us not to have those switchbacks that you see in front of the history building now. You know, where it's all covered up with switchbacks. It'll make the landscaping much more interesting, but still allow for the accessible path to get from one side of the campus to another. Of course, one of our big challenges with this campus is the fact that it's on a hill, and we have to adjust to that. Next slide, please. So here's an aerial view. This is from Pico, sort of looking over the Sheraton Serafina. And you see the gym and with the curved path in the front. This is a completed look. Actually, it's a little more than a completed look because our architects keep wanting the admin to go away, and it's not going to go away quite that quickly. But it does show the pool out, the south gym out, the art building and history building, and the sort of new look of how it develops. The language building is still in the foreground. And it creates a plaza area between the two buildings. Also, it's a better relationship to the Greek and creates a whole lot more green space around the middle part of the quad. Next. So this really shows where sort of the commons can be, the outdoor learning sort of gathering spaces, and it really shows how we think of the campus, you know, the gathering space that was going to exist now between the innovation and the new discovery building, and then the outdoor learning that can occur in what was the science quad, and then we get the nice big commons area between what will be the library, but right now it'll be the business building, the English building, and admin, and then into the outdoor learning area that's down in the lower part. Next. Great. So we're very excited about this building. This is the Exploration Building. It is a name that has risen up. So that's what we're calling it at the moment. But what you see in this building, it has 3 floors. And of those 3, on the left side is where we have the capstone or the career tech education program with Project Lead the Way engineering on the bottom. It also has a large outdoor work area so that the engineers can then build things. The next level is the health, wellness, and sports medicine level, and the top is the law and government and justice level. On the other side, we have media arts and photography, so film and photography on the bottom. The next level is 3-dimensional art, which includes ceramics, which will include an outdoor terrace area with a kiln area, to 2-dimensional art, painting and drawing on the next floor. On the top of this building will be outdoor classrooms with solar panels covering that to create and also a small design lab. And in the middle will be a pitch space that will allow for presentations by the students. And we'll show you that in a better picture of that next. So the building is also built on a very much of an open building concept, which everything in it is flexible and can be adjusted and rebuilt and reorganized. Because one of the benefits we know is we don't know where we're going to be for the next 30, 40, 50, 70 years of education, but we want this building to be versatile enough to adapt to wherever it is we go and to be resilient. So it's built on this structure, much like our Discovery building, to adapt to where it's going to go. Because it might not be that law and government or health and medicine are what we want to teach in career tech, but we could change those and adapt those as we move forward in the use of this building. Next. The gymnasium complex. So this is replacing the South Gym, but expanding it a little bit. And you sort of see this is from Pico, what's the view on top, and then below is the view from view from inside. I actually want to talk about that on the next slide, because on the next slide you can see how it sort of stacks, and it allows us to go up the hill, which saves us substantial money and time in the sort of construction of the building. So on the bottom floor, which is at the level where the gym is now, or the Greek stage, we have health and fitness that will actually be able to spill out into outdoor areas. Then on the next level, we have the large 2-court gym with storage and locker rooms underneath what happens to be the next gym, which is an auxiliary 1-court gym. That will allow for some more storage and administration. And then on top of that level is the dance studio and the yoga studio. So these all stack together to sort of allow for that. Actually, go back one for a moment, Steve. So you can see here that actually there's a flow that goes from that main court to the auxiliary court all the way up to the dance studio. And next and next. So I think this is my final slide. So this is just a view then from an aerial view coming from 5th and Olympic. This just shows you sort of how it looks, how it connects to the Greek, where it will sit on campus, how it relates to what is now the business building, Barnum Hall, the language building. And we have a really great view of the pitch space. That's that front area of glass that will look out into the hills. There'll be a very great presentation space. And next. And I think the next is Steve. Go.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, so on June 25th, you approved the leaseback selection criteria, which is a requirement by state code. We had to approve the selection criteria prior to commencing with the leaseback selection process. We issued our RFQ, our request for qualifications and proposals the next day. We held a pre-proposal meeting on site, which was fully socially distanced and everyone wore masks. 9 firms attended. We got 3 firms who submitted statements of qualifications on the due date of July 21st. We scored those SOQs. We used 2 of our staff members, 2 members from the FDAC and Dr. Shelton to score those, and then checked all the references of the submitting firms. All 3 firms were brought forward to interview. We interviewed them on July 29th. After we completed the interviews and scored the interviews, all the firms were advanced to the next stage of scoring, which was pricing. So we reviewed their pricing. The overall scoring, including pricing, which is really based on the overall board approved criteria, resulted in McCarthy being recommended as the best value for this project. As a side note, McCarthy was ranked first prior to scoring, and in scoring itself, they were also ranked first. Their preliminary services, which is what we're awarding tonight, includes estimating, value engineering, bidding out the work to the contractors once we're through design, doing some demolition and grading, and that's all the stuff that can be done prior to DSA approval. And if you remember back to Discovery, we did a very similar thing. We first demolished the science and technology buildings, and then we did some of the grading, and we did the shoring as pre-construction services, because DSA doesn't actually review those. And we can't award the full contract amount until DSA has approved the project. We're obviously very early in the design process now, so the things that we can do are included in there, because they will, in every case, need to be done regardless of what DSA does with this project. So once we have the full, all of the bids, all the subcontractor bids from McCarthy, we then come back and award the full GMP to them that's guaranteed maximum price to build the entire project. So that's where we are today. And if you have any questions, obviously Carrie and I would be happy to answer them. I will stop sharing.
Great, thank you, Steve and Carrie. Let's go to board questions. That was very thorough. Maybe you cut them all off at the pass. All right, Oscar.
Yeah. So, I mean, I heard certain uses, like yoga, for example. How do we determine that 5 years from now, that's going to be the most popular, activity for the buildings? Like in terms of like what we're going to do with the space. The space is probably going to be what, 5 years down the line that this gets built?
Probably 4, but yes, close enough.
Okay. So how 45 students interviewed that are currently in school now. I guess that was the number of students involved.
No, that was the number of staff members. For student, and specifically that was related to the reason I mentioned the student survey. It was related to selection of the 3 capstone pathways. That was a survey from all students last year as to what interested them as far as careers and pathways. The 45 though was actually teachers and staff members that we dealt with as we went through our various meetings.
Yeah, so just my concern is really in terms of the use of the space and what is appropriate, 4 years down the line, and how are we, soliciting input, from students, because, that's the end user, right? People who we expect to utilize that space. So maybe like elementary or middle school students would probably be very appropriate to talk to. Those are the kids that are going to be utilizing the space in the future.
Sure, they would. I mean, and it's interesting you mentioned that, especially middle school. I spoke to Steve Richardson, this was months and months ago, specifically about a topic like that. What do your kids think they want to do when they grow up? And apparently the number one answer, and the answer that was a majority, is they'd like to be an influencer on YouTube. That's tough to design for, and also they're not all going to be influencers. So, we have to take some of that with a grain of salt. When the survey was conducted of the students, it was focused on what are careers that interest you, and I'm guessing that YouTube influencer wasn't an option. But of course, we do have, when we're looking at our visual and media arts, we do have the ability for some of them to get into that field. But the great thing about the facility is that, as Carrie was mentioning, with this open design concept, we have the ability to change these spaces. The other thing to think about is, and I don't say this to be dismissive of a classroom, but a classroom is a classroom. So if we're looking at, it's the old boxes of box type of thing. If we're looking at, do we have a space to teach? Yes. Do we have a space to teach specifically sports medicine? We may adapt a space to do that, but that space can equally be adapted to the next thing. Because a lot of the things that, 20 years from now, we're going to be teaching students to go into fields that don't exist right now. So we can't build those spaces for that, but what we can build is spaces that can be adapted. And, I think Carrie's actually a member of the Open Building Council. And one of the things that they're focused on is, can you make your spaces adaptable? So we do, I think we do a very good job, but we certainly try very hard to make sure that we're doing that. And we're doing it with Discovery as well as this project. Carrie, do you have anything to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think that's where we're really working with our architect, and John Dale is the president of the International Open Building Society, that really is guiding us to make sure that whatever we're building has the resilience to adapt to where we're going. And I think that's where we're also going. Also, with the career tech, it also really allows us to leverage the labor market and to adapt to existing post-secondary programs and studies and pathways. I'm reading because Dr. Smith, who is very much involved in this, was telling us, let's make sure that we do these things, and he's very much part of us making sure that we're making it the career tech robust and adaptable and changeable.
One other thing, the last thing is, it looks like from the design, we're trying to take advantage of the view of the beach views, right? And I think I can just say, as a former student of Santa Monica High School, anytime I was up in like by the library, or up in the history building, and you can just look out and catch a little bit of the beach, it does something to you. It's a beautiful feeling, I think, for students to have that access. And so anything that we can do in terms of roof space, or activating the roof in a safe way, of course, but allowing for us to take advantage of those views, I think, can really bring a lot of shine a bright light, in the life of students and our faculty as well, our staff as well.
Yeah, so the exploration building, actually what's planned now is rooftop classrooms, and the ones on the west side will potentially have great views of the ocean and the water. The ones on the east side will have really good views of the hills, Santa Monica Mountains, and also the downtown area. And then the end of the gym will actually have glass that will look out and give us a nice view out towards the ocean too.
And once the existing South Gym is done, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Oscar. And I second that. I mean, anytime I come down Ocean Park and see the water and the beach, it just chills everything out. I mean, we live in a blessed place for sure. Maria.
Don, I just wanted to add one last piece. Thank you so much. I think, Carrie, your presentation and Steve goes beyond what the expectations were in terms of future classrooms. The ability to be able to reuse and reimagine the use of that space is what we were looking for in the way that we're building these classrooms. I know that we've gotten a lot of criticism from parents saying, well, things are not going to be the same, but I think parents don't really understand the way we're looking at it in terms of we're getting ready for the next, let's say, 100 years by the way we're building,
right.
You know, and you know, designing these buildings so that they could be used for whatever use and whatever, you know, careers come around in the next 5 to 10, 20 years. So thank you. I think for the first time in terms of my 20 years on this board, we're finally getting the connection between what we're talking about education connected into the space that we're going to need to be able to do that in a good way. And now I saw the rooftop classrooms. I think they're great. Talking about, you know, we're talking about COVID, we're doing it already, even pre, let's say, even if COVID would have come around, we're doing it in terms of being able to use our outdoor space to learn. So thank you so much. I think you did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Anybody else want to jump in? Great. I'm going to just say something quickly where we talk so much about our priorities and about reimagining our schools and our commitment to social justice and our commitment to changing education so it works for all students. And I get that this is new and this is different, but based on everything that's happened over the past 4 years, this lines up perfectly. We are changing the way we're approaching education. We're deepening learning for more students. We're giving more opportunity. We're creating more pathways. I think this is an incredibly exciting time. I know it's not what a lot of people expect when they think of a traditional education, but traditional education has failed large groups of our population for a long period of time. This is something that embraces everything that we have made our core priority. And like Maria just said, we're pairing the form with the function, which we've talked about before, but we're really doing that now. It's exciting. I think we've covered a lot of really good things tonight at this meeting. But we probably have to move this motion, move this item. Do I have anybody want to move it? I see Lori. Do I have a second? I see Craig. Wonderful. Roll call. Craig. 2 thumbs up. Lori.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Maria.
Yes.
Oscar. I feel like I'm missing somebody. TJ. Did I say you?
I voted yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got a
voted.
pandemic brain again, and I'm a yes as well. So that is 6 yeses. Wonderful. We have no information items tonight on our agenda. Are there any board member items submitted? There were no items submitted. Any requests from members of DACs? I've seen none. We have no more public comment. Board member comments. Anyone? Come on, don't feel you got to. I'm kidding. Absolutely. Oscar, yeah, what do you got?
Yeah. You know, since we're talking about Samohi, I want to make sure that we do justice to the Cesar Chavez mural that students put up in 2005 on the campus. And also in the 1970s, the olive tree that was planted at the circle. And you know, the students that fought against the Vietnam War and were against that. So 2 concepts that have to be included in that promenade for sure is peace and justice. And so I just want to make sure that we come back soon to have that. Students had a meeting with Dr. Shelton. I was present in that meeting. And it would be, I think, a step backwards, you know, to get rid of a mural and to get rid of the tree and without a plan, you know, in writing that assures that those concepts are going to be celebrated. Those movements are going to be celebrated, you know, in that area of the campus. Anyway, just wanted to raise that.
Thank you, Oscar. Good points, both. Anybody else?
I have a quick.
Yeah, Richard.
I just want to share with the board that to the chagrin of my child, who's about to be a senior, I went to registration with him to Samuel High, really because I just wanted to see how it was unfolding. And I was so impressed. And so I want to give great kudos to Dr. Shelton and his staff. I want to tell you that Chauncey Jones had that social distancing thing down. It was smooth. It was easy. I wore a mask, so I don't think Dr. Shelton saw me, but it was impressive at how well this one school in our district, I'm sure the others are doing equally well. But it was just something that I wanted to congratulate Dr. Shelton and his team. It was good work.
Thanks, TJ. I'm sure if he's not listening, we will convey that to him. So this brings us to our adjournment. I just want to, we're not adjourning. I want to send our best wishes for a recovery from the board, from the Samuel High community to Al Trundle. Al's been at Samo with us in our district for almost 30 years. He received a bad diagnosis this summer. He shared it on Facebook with his students. So I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. Just a wonderful man. Just a warm, a real educator. And we just wish Al the best for recovery. And we hope we see you back where you belong as quickly as possible. So thinking of you. On that note, we will adjourn. Thank you, everybody. We have a special board meeting on the 25th where we will address our social justice agenda. Very exciting. We're going to have these conversations, and we'll see you in 12 days. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Great meeting.
Great job.
Great job. Thank you, everybody. Good night.